Perfect. Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on Monday, October 17th, and I would like to call this meeting of the Village of Romeo Board of Trustees to order. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk Chat, could you call the roll, please?
Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Excuse me. Hart?
Here.
Parker? Poznansky?
Here.
President Malzahn?
Here.
We have 6 present.
I did receive a text message from Trustee Parker at about 3:45. He said he was unable to conclude his travel plans due to a COVID exposure. He asked to possibly attend remotely. I did confirm with Mark Clark that the Open Meetings Act allowance for COVID remote is expired, and so therefore he would not be able to be part of the quorum or any voting. So he does have an excused absence. Okay, trustees, in your board packet is the consent agenda. You have minutes from September 19th. You have special meeting minutes from October 10th. Closed session minutes, which are on the yellow sheet in front of you, from the October 10th meeting. Council bills and vendor report. The council bills total $202,057.92. And the vendor report reflects activity $33,847.81. I think there's an extra digit there on your agenda, as well as the meeting agenda. So that's a lot of items in the consent agenda. Do we need to pull any out, or can we have a motion to approve?
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Support.
Okay. We have a motion by Edwards. We have support by Hart. Any discussion? Can you call the roll since the bills are included?
Sorry. Edwards?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Poznansky?
No.
Fowler?
No.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-2.
All right, at this time, we have a special presentation with us tonight. We have John Paul Ray. Is it Rhea? Excuse me. Is it Rhea or Ray? Okay, because I've been pronouncing it Rhea all these years, and County Executive Hackle said Ray at the rally, so I was like, maybe I'm wrong. So, welcome. He is from the Macomb Economic Development Corporation, and he's going to give us an update on Ford Motor Company.
Thank you, Village President Malzahn and members of council. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to provide you all with an update with regards to the county's ongoing efforts and conversations surrounding the Romeo Ford engine plant. I will be the first to not only thank you for this setting, but also understanding the immense amount of sensitivities with regards to this facility. As we stand here today, there's about 400 hardworking men and women that are still actively employed day in, day out at the Romeo Ford engine plant. And since October 31st of 2019, our team over at the Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development, along with representatives not only from the Village of Romeo, but every single level of government from the state and federal level, including, have been engaged in conversations with Ford, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and auto industry experts to understand the future of the Romeo Ford engine plant. On that day, we were told that the Romeo Ford engine plant would ultimately be phased out in its current iteration. Shocking news to someone that grew up in the area, and undoubtedly shocking news to so many in the room and those that are watching because of the loved ones that have been a part of that legacy for that plant for so many decades. Because of the strategic importance of the plant, we knew that we were going to be able to engage Ford and begin to develop a business case for not only the future viability of that site, but also the adaptive use of that site. And a critical component of that was engaging the Village of Romeo, as we have been through our liaison in Village President Malzahn. Since day one, we included Village President Malzahn in those conversations and then built a coalition or a task force that not only involves the chief electives in the surrounding communities, but also representatives not only from Macomb County, including myself and our Department of Planning and Economic Development Director, Vicki Rowanski, also strategic leadership from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, representatives from the Center for Automotive Research, the Detroit Regional Partnership, which is our regional economic development agency, and direct representation from the Ford Motor Company. Through these conversations that have been going on now for the better part of almost 3 years, we have discussed every single viable strategy to keep that plant running. And the thing that I am incredibly proud of is even though the future does look bleak, this plant is still operational today. And I think that's not only a testament to the hard-working men and women in that plant, I also think it's a testament to the Village of Romeo's commitment to supporting the facility. And while none of us can definitively speak to when this plant was closed, if it will close, or what it will look like next year or many years into the future, there are some things that are absolutely resolute. And the first of which is the commitment from Macomb County. And I'll be the first one to admit, I read the story in the Romeo Record, and it's pretty disheartening to read a piece like that and understand that it doesn't really represent the efforts of all the individuals that have been on those meetings, that have not only been talking about the future of the plant, but have provided actually paths forward where we can not only ensure that Ford, is able to continue there many years into the future. We've looked at everything from electrification to advanced powertrains, and every single advanced component that's going in every single Ford model that was just recently at the North American International Auto Show to say to Ford, challenge us. Give us a challenge and let the Village of Romeo and the support from Macomb County and the state of Michigan put forth a package that illustrates a business case for this plant. And it's difficult because in those conversations, Ford, frankly, has been maybe not as open as we would hope them to be, with whether it's the date of closure, whether it's how many people might stay on there, what a warm idle is versus a cold idle, and all the other information that they provide us throughout this process. I have to give credit to Ford, though, but they've been at every single task force. They've showed up with representatives, not only from their corporate team, they've given us direct conversations with Ford Land and Real Estate, when and if the plant does close, what their strategy might be. We've had conversations with individuals on their electrification team to understand how Romeo Ford Engine Plant can be a part of future conversations as far as advanced componentry that's going in electric vehicles. And also have had those conversations about saying, what is the future of that site, and how does Ford also bring in other business partners to help invest in that facility into the future. As of today, we have not been given a definitive answer to Ford. And by all accounts, on October 31st of 2019, that plant should have been closed by now. So while the Ford Romeo engine plant as we know it today may cease to exist someday, the one thing that I'm here to tell you is that we're not going to stop fighting. And we're not going to stop fighting because we understand the strategic importance of that facility and also how it connects into a number of other monumentally important assets to Ford to Ford Motor Company, from the test track to the north and the advanced powertrain site down in Sterling Heights. So our strategy is pretty simple. What we've said to Ford is, tell us what you need. Tell us what you need to keep this plant open. Tell us what you need to find the future workforce that will staff this plant for another generation of individuals. And tell us what you need to engage the Village of Romeo, not only to be an active participant in that, but to illustrate how this becomes the cornerstone of all the other multitude of investments that we're seeing, not only on the Powell Road Industrial Corridor, but also with some preliminary conversations that we're having about Romeo State Airport. We've been here every step along the way since that horrible day that we found out that Ford had made a decision back in 2019 that they were considering the future of the Romeo Ford engine plant. And that plant is still open today. And yeah, I'll be the first one to take those criticisms that maybe we haven't been parading around with every single thing that we've been done, whether in the background or whether with all the meetings that we've been having with individuals. But frankly, that's to respect the individuals that are working in the facility, to just not make it seem like a graveyard. Those folks are there, they're committed, and just this past Friday, we had the great pleasure of again standing alongside 32 Mile Road, along with the great folks at UAW Local 400 and UAW Region 1, to say we're here, we're not going anywhere, and we're here to be a part of the solution. Every single one of us can sit back and be incredibly angry about this. And you should be. It's never good when someone says you're not good enough and this plant's going to close. And yeah, that's what Ford said a few years ago. But at the same time, I give Ford a tremendous amount of credit. They haven't backed away from the table. They're still there today. They still haven't told us this game is over yet. And more importantly, we're still going to figure out what this plant's going to look like into the future. We're looking at every single viable incentive that we can get from the state of Michigan. Just today, we had 2 conversations with leadership at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to discuss creative elements that we can bring to the table about real estate or facility investment. We also talked about the whole notion of showcasing the tremendous workforce, which was not only a part of that facility when it employed over 1,000 individuals, or is still there today. The other conversations that we've had with Ford is, you're building combustion engines right now that are part of some of the most coveted vehicles that are on the market in the Super Duty. Our assumption is, and through all these excerpts that we talked to, these engines still need to be made someplace, and they're doing a damn good job at Romeo Ford Engine. Maybe we can keep that going there a little bit longer and give us an opportunity to fight for some more product in that line. The other great thing is through the relationships that we forged not only with the village, but with the good folks at the UAW, is we've been given a little bit of insight into how the whole bargaining process goes, and how if we can keep that plan online for a little bit longer, the folks at local UAW 400 may have a more pronounced voice at the bargaining table as far as when they look at componentry and staffing in that facility into the future. So I wanted to come here today to tell you, we've been here ever since that fateful day. We're not going anywhere. We've had a tremendous working relationship with Village President Malzahn, who's provided critical information about the impact that this will have on the Village of Romeo. Whether it is from municipal water and sewer rates, whether it is from the impact of Labor Shed and the tremendous relationship that we have with Romeo Community Schools and the Ford Next Generation Learning Program, we're leveraging every single opportunity we have to illustrate to Ford that Romeo is the prime place to keep doing business. The other reason that I'm here is because I grew up here. And this matters a hell of a lot to me. And yeah, I'll admit, the first time that I read that story 3 years ago, it hurt. It hurt on a personal level because I got family that works there. It hurt on a personal level because every time you see a blue tractor from Ford, you think, hey, I think that came from Romeo. And that's a legacy that none of us want to see leave. And I will be the first one to admit that, yeah, these conversations are heated, and yes, all of us have perceptions about what potentially could happen and what it means for the future of that site and how it's going to impact very difficult decisions that all of you as leaders of this community may have to make someday. But I just want to again illustrate that we're here. We're here to assist. We're here to provide solutions. And most importantly, we're here to engage any partner that can bring forward a viable strategy to keep that plan going. So, President Malzahn, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Also, if there's anyone in the community that wants to reach out to me to assist in any capacity, feel free to get all my contact information from the village president. I'm here to work with you. And we're hopeful, and I think we've got a damn good team that's here. And the other great thing is every single task force meeting that we have, I'm inspired. Whether it's the local perspective we get from Christine, whether it's our congresswoman up there talking about how she's going to fight like hell in Washington to make sure that people know that there are options to bring in additional resources at the federal and regional level, or whether it's a strategy that we're going to get later this week that's going to look at how we showcase and market this site should there be an opportunity to engage forward and look at build-out scenarios. These are resources that we've committed to this since day one and will continue into the future, and we're looking forward to having some good news in the future.
I can't thank you enough from my office, and I've said this in every single one of those meetings that I've attended about every 6 or 8 weeks with Vicki and the crew that she has gathered. Without you and your commitment to assist Romeo in this process, right, none of this would have happened. And I appreciate the assistance you've given me in my office and some directives just from the village side. Some of the major things that we've achieved are our water and sewer rates. The impetus for our new water and sewer rate structure that was just implemented was so that there was some stabilization money based on meter size. Ford Motor Company has the only 8-inch meter in the village of Romeo. So we've increased the standard rate for 8-inch meters so that whether they have water and sewer flowing through those pipes or not, there's some money that's coming into the village so that we do not have to raise your rates to make up for that loss. We put that plan in place looking forward to how can we protect the village until a new user comes in. We also just adopted our master plan. Planning Commission just finally approved that. That has labeled that Ford engine plant site as an opportunity zone. That gives us many more resources and tools for what could go there, what we can do for rezoning. So again, being proactive to put that in place. Also, looking at our IFT and tax abatements. The village of Romeo is small. We all know that. We can't compete with what Congress, right, what they can do at the state level or on the federal level as far as incentivizing Ford Motor Company to stay here. But we can do what Romeo can do in the form of an IFT. And I've made that available to JP to put in the tool chest of what we're talking about in negotiating with Ford. on a regular basis. So thank you, to Vicki and your team. Does any of the board
I
have
one
questions?
question. You said a little bit earlier that Ford told you that it wasn't not good enough. And you mentioned about some of the efforts of what you're going to take place or do, but that not good enough, when they mentioned that to you, was that reasonings for closing? What were the not good enough?
So the main reason is electrification. The facility has been unilaterally focused on internal combustion engines, and you're building some of the greatest V8 and Super Duty engines that are going in some of the fastest coupes that Ford makes and the Super Duty pickups. So when you look at that project life cycle, that runway is a heck of a lot smaller than it used to be when there's all this electrification across the fleet. So everything that we heard from Ford about 3 weeks ago now at the North American International Auto Show, when we discussed this with their team, is when they look at their facilities, they're looking, how are they scaling electrification, and how are all those plans from assembly to componentry being able to bring in additional resources and yield more advanced products? Well, the interesting thing right now with Ford, where we see that conversation turning a little bit, some of the most coveted products right now are actually Super Duty pickups. If you talk to anyone that buys fleet vehicles right now, good luck finding anything Super Duty. So as we talked with the Center for Automotive Research last Wednesday, they said there's value in that, and your facility supports that. So what we have said to Ford just recently was, okay, if there's value in this product, we have a workforce that's illustrated a capacity to be good enough to produce this product. How do we bring more value add to this facility? Because maybe you don't need 2 million square feet to build a singular engine, but if you have a workforce supported by the UAW that is consistently produced here, how is it that we can adapt the facility? So early on it was, you got a dinosaur. Well, now we said, okay, I think our dinosaur may have survived the massive asteroid that just hit us. How is it that we can thrive moving forward on that end? But yeah, you're absolutely right. Early on, it was electrification. You don't build anything electric there. Well, okay, what is it that we need to maybe modernize and advance the facility?
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Or any questions from anybody in attendance?
I have one. So what will you and the village president do to keep us better informed? All of this has been going on. I'm sure many, many people in the village would appreciate being better informed with appropriate information. How do you plan to rectify that?
I appreciate that question. I would be more than happy to provide ongoing updates through the village president. What I could do is I could do written correspondence. I could show up and provide when there's information that is, critical. Anytime that we get anything definitive from Ford, I will make sure that that gets in front of the village president and has the appropriate way to get to council or whatever decision-making body on this end. Have no issues with doing that. And the other thing is anytime anyone has ever called this on us, I've probably talked their ear off. So whether you see me in the village or if there's anything else that we could provide, we're definitely here to not only provide this information, but also be sensitive to some of the impacts that it has to the men and women that work there today.
And how will our council and our village president keep us better informed? Because it's not all his responsibility.
Absolutely. Well, again, through correspondence, we go over correspondence every month. It's sometimes a little bit difficult to share the fine details of what's discussed at that level because it's hypothesis, right? It's an idea that we're sharing. Once you put it out there, I don't want people to misinterpret that that's fact, that that's happening. There's also some sensitivity issues regarding the sale of that property. Some, interested parties that we're not at liberty to discuss that in a public setting. So you just need to be assured, and I'll assure you as best I can with updates that we are on it. We have been on it from day one.
That was not clear. So I don't think we need details. We just need to know you're on it. That
Right.
would be.
I will work to do a better job in my president's report to make sure that I mention those updates. I have mentioned it previously, but I will take your suggestion and work harder to make sure that that's included, if there's any consistent updates that are based on fact and actualities.
Thank you.
I have one more. Christine just mentioned the sale of the property. Would the economic development also be involved with that, along with the village and Ford's? Or?
Should we get to a point where there is an active sale with regards to the facility, 1,000%. We have already started preliminary conversations with the Detroit Regional Partnership, which is the regional attraction entity that brings in business opportunities to Southeast Michigan. We as a county are an investor in that organization. They have a national real estate platform that's called, I believe, the VIP, Viable Industrial Properties tool, that actually goes out and markets sites. We've done some preliminary site assessment there where we've put together core demographics and labor statistics on the value of that property, and we've provided that information at no cost to the village, that if there is an eventuality of a sale, that we have critical resources which will help market and promote that.
Would you take under consideration the activity of which Washington Township is taking right across the street with that Myers development?
1,000%. We, as part of the task force, all the chief electeds in the surrounding communities are a part of this. So when we talk about this, we also talk about some business prospects that are actually looking at Romeo State Airport right now too, as far as viable development strategies that would support that.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
What's our Ford's tax liability if they close that place to the city of Romeo?
So
I'd like to know what that is.
I am not a municipal tax expert, but I will defer to the village president on that one.
Well,
If Ford closes it down,
right now, the tax revenue is about 172,000. Nope, right, the tax revenue that we generate is roughly about 170,000. Ford will continue to pay property tax as long as that property is in Ford's name,
but
right?
that's the only part they have to keep paying is the property taxes on it?
Well-
There's no other,
They will now have to pay a ready-to-serve charge for their sewer pipe. As long as the pipe is in the ground, I don't have that number right in front of me. It's part of that water and sewer rate study that we just adopted. So I would have to get you that number. I don't know it off the top of my head.
because I would think after,
But I believe totally, it's about $50,000 a year.
so it's about 150,000 you're talking about. It's a loss revenue if they close down and don't do anything.
Well, I don't know the total calculation of that. I'm not sure. They'll still pay property tax. If they go before the tax tribunal, they very well could get that reduced. I don't know. It depends on how long they're probably going to take to remediate that, right? Are they turning it into a brownfield? We don't know. We don't know because they're not giving us a definitive timeline of what their plan is. And that's the unfortunate part, that we can't be.
There are two numbers, 170,000 they pay in taxes and 50,000 roughly in the water. So I'm not sure where 150,000 came from.
Okay, 125, I'll give it.
Oh,
I missed it.
Right. No. Let me clarify that. They pay more in sewer and water right now. What we've put in place is a minimum charge that they will pay on their sewer rate. Every month, you have seen a $12 ready-to-serve fee on your utility bills. We increase that based on meter size. So Ford Motor Company with an 8-inch meter, I believe over a 4-quarter billing cycle, will roughly pay $50,000. So that's money, whether they have usage or not, that we can anticipate coming. Again, the tax money, the $170,000 that they pay in every year, we will get, if not the whole thing, at least a good portion of that, unless assessing decides to reduce that. And Drew Hale may have an answer because he does assessing for a neighboring community.
So, as long as the building isn't leveled, the tax obligation doesn't go away,
Yes.
period. It doesn't matter, dormant state facilities are still the same as active state facilities as long as they aren't leveled. The only thing you could possibly lose would be the personal property if they remove all the assets within the structure, but it's already paying a reduced rate through new legislation in 2014. So unless the building is raised, their tax obligation stays almost the same. And I am an expert in this situation.
Yes.
That's what I do.
Does that answer your question?
Sure, but like this young lady was saying before, maybe if you would verbalize that to the public other than your president's report, people in the community would know a little bit about and feel a little safer that, hey, we aren't losing in total, because the Ford Motor's been dragging their feet for 3.5 years. We got to find some way to light the fire a little bit, because the only way to do that is just get it out in the open instead of behind closed doors. You know, we ought to be able to, and I'm not just talking down the stuff you're doing, because I know how that stuff works, but we ought to be able to help by doing something else, by verbalizing it.
You bring up a really interesting point that we've actually discussed candidly with the Ford Land Division folks about the obligation to the village. We've made it clear through the information that we received from Village President Malzahn that there's not only an obligation on the tax side, as Drew highlighted, but also on the municipal water rates and things of that magnitude, which are going to be critical resources to the village moving forward.
Kind of a question to you and to you as well. Do you make recommendations then to be cautious of allotting too much of our sewer use to other users rather than to maintain it till we know what's going into Fords?
That's a very good question. I would say that you've been servicing a 2 million square foot facility now for the better part of 70 years. I think the village is okay there. Undoubtedly, yes, there are uses that are more resource heavy when it comes to water and sewer that could potentially enter into an agreement like that. We have let all of our utility providers, not only at the regional level, but also locally, know that if there is a need for incentive packages, should those individuals come to the table, that there be some shared resources in that allocation also.
I mean, more importantly, just our capacity, that we don't give capacity away to other outside entities without knowing what's going to go in there.
That would be a consideration should any of those proposals come before the village. I'm confident in current rates that would not hinder the redevelopment of that site if we got there.
Because we do hold 500,000 gallons in reserve for them, along with what they're currently using. And just to answer your question a little bit further, when we had the sewer subcommittee gather to entertain Bruce Township's proposal, we had our engineering firm analyze that site and the proposed uses based on how it's zoned and an opportunity zone and tell us what that would look like. So we did account for their current uses and potential future uses. Obviously, we can't figure out every scenario because we don't know what that would look like. But our best guess and our engineering firm's best guess is that, yes, we could safely afford to provide sewer to additional users to a certain amount.
We've also had some pretty candid conversations with DT with regards to the grid reliability that would be of value to additional investments that are coming down the pipeline along the Powell Road Industrial Corridor. We understand that that reliability is mission critical to some of the advanced elements that are coming, into that major job cluster. So I think we sit in a favorable position regardless of what path we head down, not only with the Romeo Ford engine plant, but also with Powell Road too.
Any further questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I would like to thank you very much for all the work you guys are doing.
You guys don't have to do that. We haven't done anything yet, but thank you.
Right.
You're working hard, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming tonight, too.
Yeah, again, in all sincerity, I'm around. You've probably seen me downtown, or you've probably seen me anywhere else in the village. Just ask. We're here to help. This is not a great situation, but we've got some really good people working on this, and we're not going anywhere. I think we have no doubt.
So, right now, it's been 3 years, and things are still relatively status quo there, right? They're still building product and so on. So what estimate do you have if they did finally decide, okay, we're going to shut it down for whatever reason? How long would that take?
A while. What you're looking at is with any phase-out strategy, as Drew highlighted, all of the personal property within that facility would have to be decommissioned, and that would be decommissioned by employees of the Ford Motor Company or whatever contractors are coming through that. There are all these different phasings depending on what OEM that you deal with, and specifically with Ford, they refer to it as an idling process. And specifically on this, what they've said is that there may be a point in time where we go into a warm idle. That means we still have workers that are there. They're workers of Ford. However, they aren't producing new parts. There may be parts in there. There may be parts that they're packaging, assembling, or moving forward and everything. That's a process where in talking with Ford, it can be, anywhere up to a multiple year process. And it all depends on what has been produced there, how it's being sequenced, and ultimately what it means as far as the supply chain on that end. And I know that seemed like a really shifty answer, but I think...
Sounds a lot better than 6 months.
Yeah. True. It's a good point. And honestly, when we started this conversation back in 2019, this plant should have been closed by now.
Right.
That means something.
Yeah. Yes, it does. It does. Thank you, JP. I truly appreciate all of their insight and, again, your assistance. So thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
See you guys.
All right, I'm going to move on to correspondence. I know your agenda says none, but there were 2 late submissions that weren't available in time for your packet, so I just want to give a quick mention. I made a Facebook post today about the Samaritan House Christmas Hope program. November 4th is the deadline to register if you or if you know someone who is in need of a helping hand to to be included in their sharing tree program. You need to get to the Samaritan House and get registered. It's only in person. Anybody who maybe can give a little extra, please look for those sharing tree tags. I know they're available in a variety of locations, mostly churches, and hopefully you'll see one and you can grab one, fulfill a basic need from somebody who, may need something like socks, or, a wish list for a child who may not have a Christmas gift. So Samaritan House, great asset, great resource for our community. Let's all support them. And the second one I just wanted to mention, and I know the trustees got this email, but just for the benefit of everybody in attendance, Trustee Gary Kopp from Washington Township has invited everybody to a ribbon cutting and dedication for the new Veterans Memorial that's happening down in Washington Township. This ribbon cutting is on November 12th. It's the infrastructure, the memorial is at the intersection of 27 Mile and Van Dyke. I don't think there's parking right there, so I think you have to park across the street and where Allward's Market used to be. It's not there anymore. I don't know what's the main staple there, 27 and Van Dyke. But anybody who's interested, please plan to join everybody on November 12th on Veterans Day to honor our good men and women who sacrificed so much for us.
The Pantry Restaurant.
The Pantry Restaurant is there. Yes, thank you for that.
Debbie's
Okay.
Dollar.
Pardon me?
Debbie's Dollar.
Debbie's Dollar, yes, you're correct. Okay, let's move on to public comment. So we have quite an audience here tonight. This would be the opportunity for anybody to get up to the podium. Please come up to the podium, give us your name and address. You're welcome to speak on any agenda item or non-agenda item. I am going to ask that you be mindful of the 3-minute time limit so that we can make sure that everybody has a chance to speak. Right?
Yes.
I know. If you want to set your timer,
I know,
Zach, you
that's-
can.
no, that's fine.
Right? Okay,
Glad you
all right.
said
Excellent. Catherine.
Hello. Hello, my name is Catherine Trapp, 409 South Main Street. I am speaking today during public comments as a resident of Romeo. During the past week, an article came out in a local newspaper, as well as several posts on social media regarding me interviewing for a job in Lake Orion. Although I did not think this information was newsworthy, unfortunately, others felt it was. I am making this statement today as a courtesy to the residents. I want everyone to know that there are no guarantees in life, and November 8th will be no exception. I was simply planning for the future and planning how I would take care of my 2 daughters as a single mom if November 8th did not go as I hoped. Never could I have imagined that making a life plan for my children, it would be played out all over Facebook and in a newspaper. Although I cannot control what others think of me, I would hope you would understand why I felt the need to have a backup plan in place. Having secure employment is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Thank you for allowing me to make a statement. I felt that the residents deserved an explanation. Thank you.
Smart.
All right. Public comment. And okay. Sorry, Bill. You can be next. Sorry. If you want to make your way around, right? If you want to make your way around to the podium.
At the ready.
Okay, you can have a seat then. Okay.
I'm Danielle Lee. I'm 171 Tilson Street. A year ago in November, this board heard from several Tilson residents about some of their concerns. The board at that time advised the only ordinance in place was a noise ordinance. I spoke at that time, asked for additional police presence. Since then, I personally have not heard or seen any suggestions of support from the village or DDA, which was fine. It was only this past August we were asked to co-host the Screech Fest event put on by the DDA. I declined this offer as Tilson Street is not part of the DDA boundaries. And several of the residents were upset from the previous year with the amount of traffic on the street. I did not feel it was the best interest of all of the residents, and we did not need any additional advertisement. It was shared with me at that time that the DDA planned to have a shuttle taking guests from downtown to Tilson Street. I could not have been more clear that several of the residents would not be happy with the shuttle. I explained the shuttle was tried several years ago and it was a disaster. One homeowner found someone sitting on their couch. I asked what the DDA was going to do to help the residents if they brought a shuttle with more people to the street. I was told to call the village and ask for help as it was a village matter and the DDA could not offer any additional police presence or trash pickup. Here we are mid-October. Tilson residents have been dealing with a business harassing and pushing their way onto the street, trying to set up a tent to hand out goodie bags. The Romeo Dispo has been given the impression that they have free range to do what they want on Tilson Street, probably because they have cut a check for anywhere between $5,000 and $12,000 to sponsor a shuttle to Tilson. The dollar amount does vary depending on who you talk to at Romeo Dispo, so I'm not sure the exact amount. We've been forced to call the Romeo police at least 5 times this past week alone. I cannot fully express the hardship this has caused the residents and how sad it is that after all the information Tilson residents have shared with you, the decision was still made to move forward with this. Again, I will not speak for everyone. We all have different opinions on the street, but this is a family-friendly event, and you have invited and accepted money from an adult-only business to sponsor a shuttle. Romeo Dispo has advertised billboards all the way down to 25 in Van Dyke saying Dispo on Tilson. Their Instagram says, come say hi, H-I-G-H, on Tilson. We have still not been offered additional support to help, but you continue to benefit from the Tilson name while creating more issues for us. This was not a last-minute decision either. Careful planning was done. The Romeo Dispo had time to design and make shirts, create billboards, and specialty car pumpkins. It really wouldn't have been so bad had we asked a charity to run the shuttle. Lions Club, Knights of Columbus, I've talked to both and I know they were not approached about this. At least the shuttle would have been contributing to a charity. Maybe even ask the serve students to pick up trash on Tilson. I want to be abundantly clear. I support the DDA and their objective within their boundaries. I just finished working on a community art project with Amanda Moore students to paint the fence along Marketplace Alley. You'll actually find a letter of recommendation from me in your packet to extend that temporary closure of that alley so the kids' artwork can stay up longer. But I'm begging you, unless you are going to help the Tilson residents get more police presence, something, please stop. Please stop being involved and putting us on your advertising if we're not going to get any help. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'll give me a moment just to respond to that. Sure. So the Village of Romeo has in no way sponsored or accepted payment from anybody for any shuttle. We had no involvement in that whatsoever. We did not issue a permit for their tent, as whatever occurred was on private property. So none of that happened. We have provided additional police presence. We provided additional trash pickup, trash barrels, barricades at the request of the residents. So we are there helping to support your resident event. I know we had several conversations with the group last year, and there was a split between residents who wanted Tilson Street and those that didn't. And we made it abundantly clear at that time that the Village of Romeo is in no position or way, shape, or form dictating to the residents on that street who they invite over to their yard, what decorations they put up. We will enforce our ordinances, which is the noise. That's the ordinance that you referenced. That was the only rule on the book that we could enforce. We absolutely are supporting the residents on Tilson Street with taxpayer dollars to help keep your street as neat and tidy. We don't have any control over the advertising and how far this event has reached. I'll be the first one to say, it's a little bit overwhelming, right, as a resident, right, in town, and I see the crowds. I'm trying to drive to Kroger, right, and the traffic is backed up, and when it was mentioned to me that the DDA was looking at the Dispo shuttle, excuse me, thanks for that word, and I talked to our chief of police, we thought that's a great opportunity to alleviate that bottleneck that's there. People can utilize underutilized parking in other areas of the village so that everybody's not trying to park on Croswell and Pleasant and Benjamin Street or walking across from St. Clements in the dark. So for that purpose alone, I thought the shuttle was a good idea. I had no idea who was sponsoring it. Again, I just want to be clear. We didn't issue a permit. We didn't accept any payment. They didn't arrange for that through the village offices, my office whatsoever.
So do you are you saying that the DDA did not accept money for that, or are you just speaking strictly the village?
Well, our DDA director is here, and she could certainly attest to that. I believe we also have a representative from DISPO here that may be able to clarify that. I don't know, because I wasn't a party to that conversation, and I wasn't at any of their planning sessions.
Okay.
I'm aware of the flyers that were produced and the activities that were going on, but other than that, the planning, I can't speak to.
Okay. And I do know, we've talked before about the trash barrels. We asked for that last year, and I know Justin Parker worked on getting that together for us. So I said last time when I was here in November that was great. We appreciated that. So that was it. And I appreciated your stance on the ordinance being the noise ordinance, the only thing, because you're right. We are our own homeowners, and we can do what we want on our street. My issue was with the conversation about the shuttle specifically and the DDA using Tilson Street as part of their advertisement for Screech Fest, bringing more people specifically for that, and having that conversation that the shuttle was going to be hard for us. It was hard the last time we tried to do it, and we found a business that's an adult-only business by all of their advertisements says 21 and older, and they're now have the idea that they can be on the street whenever they want. That's the issue.
Well, I'm sorry that you're experiencing this hardship. I really would encourage you to reach out to the DDA and perhaps attend, their board meeting.
And the next one is in November, and I will be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because if there's some collaboration, right, if there's some consideration that needs to happen, I know that board is receptive to hearing your input and feedback. So, welcome, you're welcome to absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify one thing, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong? We're talking
John, can I just interrupt you, because there's a lot of people can't hear, so if you're already standing, let's make your way over to the podium. Yeah, follow protocol here, thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing, because it's being mentioned. DDA and DISPO, we've had no conversations that I'm aware of as a board with DISPO. So I just wanted to clarify that, because we were saying the DDA is, I don't know what the term is, sponsoring, or, I mean, I know you've had some conversations, but the board has not. So
I think I can clarify a whole bunch
that's fine.
of stuff.
I just wanted to make sure that was mentioned, because
Yep.
this is the first I've heard of it being on the board.
Well, you did have
Perfect.
advertisement in the last readout that we did have. PDA was advertising.
Well, she's already standing, so let's,
Okay, you can continue then.
are you sure? Okay.
We forgot about Mr. Parker.
Oh, I forgot about Mr. Parker. I already,
Come on, Bill, get up there.
I'll share it with them.
Now you won't.
this is public comment, everybody gets
So I might be able to
3 minutes.
clarify a whole bunch of stuff here before we start throwing tomatoes or whatever is ripe right now. I'm not sure what, but if I will step back and when it's
Yeah,
time.
Bill technically was next
No,
in
no,
line.
you go first,
No, Bill,
please.
go.
He might hurry you up.
Bill, we're talking about the same thing, I think, in different sides. I have two things. One, you commented that the water study was done. I talked to my attorney on Friday. She said the ball was in the village's court, and she hadn't heard anything back. We had this conversation a month ago. Has the board, or is the study done about the minimum bills, or the multiple minimum bills that I'm receiving?
Yeah, the study was presented 2-3 months ago and
No, I was here at the last meeting, and
Yes.
we talked about the multiple minimum bills, and you said that was under study. We can
That's
both
the
go back and look at that, and so on behalf of my attorney and myself, I'm here asking about that.
Yeah, that was adopted by Village Council. It would not start, the new rates are in effect now.
Okay.
You just got your last bill, which was for the billing cycle that was in effect when the new rates were adopted. So you won't see the new rate structure until your January bill.
Okay, am I going to continue to be billed for multiple minimum bills for a single meter?
No, we removed the REUs.
Okay, that's...
Yep, as I answered last month. Yep.
Karen, I
Yep.
talked to her on Friday, she said she'd contacted them, and I
Yes.
don't know whether that meant you or Catherine or the village as a group, and she had not heard anything back, so therefore it was advisable that I come tonight to clarify that. The other thing was, John was also going to talk about I'm losing my voice.
I'm sorry. Is there more water over there for?
On the last DDA meeting, we had the idea of closing the Marketplace Alley was going to be presented, hey, thanks. It was going to be presented as a temporary continuance for an extra 30 days. And somehow I'm under the impression that we're going to be asking for a permanent closure. I have talked with board members Hayes, actually text with Mr. Hayes and with Mr. Brandt, and both of them are specifically requesting that we table that matter for another 30 days until our board actually has a chance to vote on that request. A temporary closure was what was agreed to, or at least that was what was presented. We were in agreement on that. You were there. And the idea of actually completing it as a permanent closure was not. And therefore respectfully requesting that you table the permanent closing of it and go with a 30-day extension of the temporary. John, I think, wanted to speak on this too.
I gotta look there again.
Yep. I told you to stay. You didn't listen. Thank you.
My only other comment was because I was asked. A business asked me to please represent them. They don't really speak very well, not that I do, but there's a language barrier. And I know, Elizabeth, you're going to discuss this, so this is fine. They're definitely a major business that is adamantly against this, as far as the alley closure is what I'm referring to. So I was asked to say that as a DDA board member, so I've done so.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, please, come forward, yes.
Thanks. Just a quick one. I want to celebrate a win.
Perfect, name and
because
address.
I know how difficult it is to get to that point.
Can you give us your name and address?
Yes, Tanya Berry on Church Street, 180 Church Street.
Perfect, thank you.
So my children are 8 years old and 7 years old, and we have been told by the school administration for many years that we live too close to the school to have a bus route. But as you know, I don't want to send my 8 and 7-year-old walking to school to cross Main Street on their own. So we had been talking about, is there an opportunity for us to light and guard those crosswalks? And then we'd also been talking with Justin about, well, we have to kind of look at those options because we don't have a bus. And what I wanted to share is that within the first 24 hours of speaking with Justin, he was able to get us in touch with the superintendent. 24 hours after that, he had instated a bus loop that just is an extension of an existing bus loop. So we have now a neighborhood bus for a minimum of 6 families that all were keen to have that as a resource. And I just wanted to share my thanks for his support, for your support. That's something that we haven't had, a safe route to school for the children. And I look forward to other opportunities like the crosswalks in the future, but for now, we have a bus. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That's very
Thanks
good.
to Justin.
Yes, that's very good. Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Donna Seminis. My husband and I own a store, Old World Nouveau, at 164 South Main. Okay. I want to thank Elizabeth for her vision and dedication in the alley beautification project. Each alley has become so welcoming. Since having the alley improvements at Peyton Manor, I've seen so many people enjoy it reading, resting, and even socializing. As a business, the alley at the the alley at the southern quadrant of the downtown has promoted more foot traffic towards us. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Customers are so impressed with how nice the downtown looks. I ask that you consider keeping the alley next to the MJC Marketplace open permanently. It's a great place for everyone to relax and to socialize throughout the entire downtown. Thanks.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
Hi, Sharon Smith, 377 North Main. Got a couple of things I wanted to bring up today, although it feels like it pales in comparison after the Ford information. My brother was an engineer there, so I think it hits all of us closely. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to bring up is, for months and months and months that I've been attending meetings, we've been asking for a credit card bill, just to be able to see it. This one, we all get them, right? Does anyone just write a check when they get one? You don't look at your itemized stuff, or do you look at your itemized? I do too. No, there you go. I look at mine too. By not providing something like this to every single trustee, it's asking them to just basically sign a check, sight unseen, to pay for stuff. It's just not that hard to produce this statement. By not doing so, it just, natural conclusion is that there's some untoward things happening with the credit card, or maybe there's just some petty animosity going on with the people who are asking for it. So whatever the reason is, I think we deserve better, and I hope, maybe starting tonight, but certainly hopefully next month, we can start seeing some itemized items. The second thing I wanted to bring up is the community Facebook site. Is that run by the village? That's a village Facebook site? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it a practice to ban taxpaying residents from access to that site?
There are rules and procedures that are placed with our social media policy.
Okay.
Yes.
On October 9th, I was on the page, I was looking for some information, and I saw a note from someone who had made a post saying, thanks, for the Church Street parking lot, keep up the good work. Whoever was the admin, or is the admin, or admin for that day, said, that's the plan, 4 more years. To me, that kind of smacked of campaigning, which we're not supposed to be doing on municipal websites or Facebook sites or whatever. So I said that, and I've even got on my phone. I was going to make copies, and I had a late meeting today, so couldn't. But and it was just very polite. I said, I believe it's illegal, to post campaigning. This is what I perceive it as. Would you please stop? Not only was my post taken down, but I did have the presence of mind to do a screenshot because I had a feeling that it might be taken down, but I was also blocked, which I think is kind of petty. There was nothing mean or derogatory in what I posted, and again, I have copies of it that I can show people. But as a taxpayer, I'd love to be able to get information about the Samaritan, but I can't because I'm blocked, so I'm glad you mentioned that tonight. By the way, the Rotary is going to be doing some fundraising for that as well. So anyway, those are the 2 things that I wanted to bring up. Who is the admin for the page, anyway?
There are several admins for the page.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you find out who it was that blocked me and perchance unblocked me so that I can get late breaking news?
I will absolutely take a look at the policy and those because we also have screenshots that were captured. I believe there were 3.
You're well aware of my situation.
I believe there were 3 or 4 posts within like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, absolutely, we'll take a look at that.
And all of them were above board and fair, so thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Oh.
Good evening. My name is Shelley. I live on North Bailey Street, Shelley Rosso. I had what I wanted to say, and as everybody got up and kept moving through, I'm crossing things off and whatever. So I'm going to highlight some things that may seem repetitive, but I think it warrants it because what it shows is that it's on many people's minds, not just one person who gets up here to speak. For instance, it's been said that local government can impact your quality of life more than federal government, and I completely believe that. I've been watching and attending board meetings for 10 years, and I can understand where that comes from. So my public comment is more about things that I would like to live in a village, and obviously it sounds like a lot of other people based on similar concerns. I want to live in a community that values our children. There are tens of thousands of dollars that are about to be spent on a crosswalk and a light fixture for the middle school. I don't deny that that might be necessary. However, the school district itself has not finished assessing that intersection. So we may spend those funds and do that, and the district itself might change their traffic pattern. something to consider. We also don't have crossing guards because the workforce is different right now. So there are no crossing guards, right? So the children have to cross these streets at Hollister and Main and everywhere else, and the district has graciously, amazingly, expanded their busing routes, stressing out their bus drivers a little bit more and their resources a little bit more, and yet we can't get our crosswalks repainted for a couple of years for these children to cross these streets. However, hundreds of thousands go into downtown for the businesses to get their crosswalks painted. I specifically asked the president about it, and nothing has happened since. Our crosswalks need to be repainted for these children. I want to be in a community where the children matter. I want to live where things get done because someone has a concern and the big picture is considered. I don't want to live in a community where a traffic light is complained about and everybody knee-jerks and jumps on it. Multiple traffic lights are outdated and unsafe. Does everybody know that the light at Hollister in Maine sometimes blinks and sometimes doesn't, and it changes with the season? And when you try to cross there at the beginning of the school year, how many times are cars slamming on their brakes because they didn't realize it is no longer flashing, and the child is crossing to school with no yellow lines? I want a community that looks at the big picture and plans. We don't just knee-jerk because someone complained about something. I want to live in a community where alleys are maintained and not given away. We're looking at giving away our second alley because a business is asking for it. We don't have a use for it, apparently, but maybe that's not true. Clearly tonight, we heard about the alleys and how amazing they can be, and maybe some of these alleys being given away, no more village property, could have the same vision applied to them so that they're cute and useful, kids can walk through them, and not just given away because a business owner asked to make their parking lot bigger or knock down 2 houses on a residential street and ask for the alley. That's not the kind of village I want to live in. I want to live in a village where the council, who has been here for 6, 8, excuse me.
I'll give you my 3.
Excuse me, I have one more comment.
Shelley, I'll give you my 3 minutes if.
Thank you,
about that.
much appreciated. I don't know who said it, but thank you.
Probably half a dozen.
Thank you. I want to live in a village where most of the council who's been on this board for 6, 8, 10, 12 years looks at the big picture and addresses our roads without saying Romeo can no longer ignore our crumbling and failing streets. Because I didn't ignore it. I don't think any of you ignored it, so who ignored it? All of the people sitting here had time to make a plan and didn't. And now they're saying they've been ignored. We weren't ignoring it. Don't point the finger. This council is responsible for that. I want to live in a village where there's transparency, honesty, and collaboration, not just buzzwords, but actual actions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Jay Tamor, 1365 Kilmore, Washington. I moved in a couple years ago and I have enjoyed bringing my family into the village. I just wanted to take a moment to compliment the Downtown Development Authority, the events that you've been holding with the Winterfest, the antique car show, and many other things we've got to enjoy, in addition to the new crosswalks. I have 4 children, so creating safety in the community is definitely something that can be valued. I don't really understand why so many people are against park modifications and rebuilding, but I think it would be a tremendous asset to the community to create an amphitheater and somewhere for us to come together as communities, whether it's Washington, Romeo, what say it. Unfortunately, I've noticed just being in the area that there's a lot of negative feedback
on different projects, and I'm confused at where that comes from and why so many people in leadership want to slow or stunt the growth of this community. You want to preserve what's happened, but as a community, you want to advance. You want to have crosswalks. You want to do things that exemplify the community and make it something that people are like, there's something special about this community. So I understand there's an upcoming vote, and I'm not for sure how it directly affects the Downtown Development Authority leadership, but I'm certainly hopeful that the leadership doesn't change, and the president seems to be doing a great job. So there's always continuity in having leadership that continues. So as you guys... So coming from another community, I can tell you that this is a fantastic community. And since I've been here in the last couple of years, I've continued to see great things happen. And I hope it continues. And I think it's, thanking you, Christine Malzahn and Elizabeth Miller for the DDA. I see that things that you're doing, and I applaud the efforts of being someone coming into the community and seeing that. So keep working together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come see us often.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Bauer, and my husband Terry and I live at 261 West St. Clair Street. And to be more specific, we live at the southwest corner of Sisson Street and West St. Clair. I tell you this because I would like to voice my concern over the blinking traffic signal at this corner. We have been residents for 8 years, and in that time, we have seen traffic increase on both streets. By the looks of the building going on around the Romeo area, it is not going to stop anytime soon. First, Sisson Street is used as an alternate route, or a shortcut, if you will, for folks to get over to West St. Clair without going through town, or if they're coming off some of the side streets south of West St. Clair. It is fine if the light is working, but when it is just blinking, it backs traffic up and makes it difficult for the Sisson Street drivers to get out onto West St. Clair. For the West St. Clair drivers headed east or towards the downtown area, the top of the hill across from the middle school easily increases the vehicle's speed to go more than 35 miles an hour if you're not careful, and some aren't. It is not unusual to have the double trailer rigs come sailing through the intersection when the light is blinking, sometimes even honking their horns as a warning. It is a busy street in the village limits of Romeo where people like to walk their dogs, ride their bikes, and push their strollers. Having a traditional traffic signal, one that operates during the daytime into the evenings, 7 days per week, would help to regulate the flow and the speed of vehicles, making it safer and more consistent for all. As this area continues to grow, it is obvious that traffic is only going to get busier, hence the need for a traditional traffic signal rather than a blinking light. The light has always operated to coincide with both the start and ending times during the school year of what was Romeo High School, and now the middle school, thank goodness, because there are a lot of vehicles getting kids to and from school. What doesn't work are the days when the school schedule is not the norm, and the kids are being released sometime during the day, and the traffic light is only blinking. And without a crossing guard at this intersection, and as busy as the traffic is on West St. Clair, this should be of great concern to parents. I can tell you that as these new events, which are wonderful, by the way, are bringing people to town, it also means they are bringing in more traffic. A perfect example of this was the new Vintage Fest in July. While it was a huge success, it wasn't with the traffic on Sisson Street. It backed it up most of the day because the traffic light was only blinking. I can attest to you that there were some not-so-nice drivers who did not like having to wait for people at the front of the line, trying to find a break in the traffic so they could get onto West St. Clair without getting hit. Tilson Street in October has continued to attract more people for the entire month of October, thus needing a traditional light to accommodate all of the Sisson Street traffic coming off Tilson. I could go on and on. In receiving the letter to Romeo Village property owners on October 7th from President Malzahn, I appreciate the opportunity to voice my concern. Yes, we should move forward with the upgrades that are needed so badly. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Ridley, 307 Chandler, and I didn't ever expect to be a regular visitor here to your council meeting. I'm here to talk about the traffic light as well. And living on Chandler, I see it from the other direction. That light was put in for the old middle school for buses to turn. I think it was in the middle 80s or so that light was put up. That school is now gone. And on first blush, thinking about this, it'd be nice for me to be able to just drive down to St. Clair and have the light change, and then I could go on my way. As it is, since traffic is often very heavy on St. Clair, I go down Church Street, as do many other of my neighbors. But from my home, I can see both Prospect and Morton Street, and they have a lot of traffic. For every car on Chandler, there's probably 5 on Prospect and maybe 10 on Morton. And these people are using Romeo as a cut-through. They're all going one way in the morning, the other way at night. I don't like the idea of residential streets in Romeo being used as a cut-through. We all know Prospect, they drive 40 miles an hour. They run the stop signs at Church and Prospect, because I drive through there a couple times a day, and I see them running that stop sign. My concern about the updating that traffic light and making it operational 24/7 is that it's going to change, shift traffic patterns. And particularly from the south on Sisson. I myself have sometimes turned on 31 and then gone down Sisson to avoid downtown. And I see it at rush hour, the cars backed up on Main Street, a block or more, making left turns. And those people are going to start, more of them will start going down Sisson. Sisson is a narrow street. So you have to keep that in mind. These cars are going to find the fastest way to get through Romeo. They're not here to admire our beautiful town. They just want to get through here the fastest way they can. Please keep that in mind. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more Middle residents?
Right.
Hi, I'm Michelle Milam. I'm a resident of Washington Township, but I came to your meeting today for a subject that keeps me up at night. I have been subject of bullying from the Record newspaper in the past. It's been a few years now since they've taken a liking to me, and it's been nice to be able to sleep at night, not having to worry about my name being in that paper. Recently, I've been reading the paper again, just to keep up on what's going on current event-wise. 2 of the articles in the paper that were written regarding, one, the new park, had blatant lies in the articles. I couldn't believe my eyes. What I was reading, I knew were lies. I knew that because I had done the research myself, heard the meetings, watched the meetings, went back and watched the meetings again once I read the newspaper. I thought, who would write such a thing with blatant lies? I opened the paper, went right down to the author, and the author's name was Ishkabibble. I thought, gosh, that's a very unique name. I Googled it to see what kind of person writing for the paper had a name of Ishkabibble. Well, to my dismay, or pretty much what I thought, there wasn't anybody that came up as an editor, an author, or a writer in our area with that name. However, that name says, or the meaning of that name is, you've been warned. Now, not only do I know that I've been bullied by this paper, but I do feel that this small community is being bullied by this paper. I was just told recently when I confessed to somebody, I'm sorry this is emotional for me, but this is something that keeps me up at night. And a really smart lady told me, never get in a fight with someone that buys ink by the barrel. And I haven't known how to get my point across or where to get my point across. But I'm asking residents, if you're going to believe something that you read in a paper, at least look and see whose name's signed to this paper. Because if there's not a real person signed to this, are they even proud of their work? Thank you for taking my time to let me speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more takers on public comment? Otherwise, I'm going to give Elizabeth Miller, okay, oh, we got two, okay. Sorry, Elizabeth.
Hello, everyone. My name is Toby Casta, 100 Schaefer Road. I work for a company called Med Farms, who is affiliated with DISPO. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Sales and Community Outreach with DISPO. There has been a few things that have come up, and I just wanted to clarify on a few things in regards to that. The Village of Romeo has never accepted any money from us. We are strictly doing the shuttle service out of good kind to help alleviate some of the traffic and bring some generated revenue to the city, to downtown, for the shops that are down there as well. It's all about safety and community, and that's what we believe in. I have 3 small children, set of twins that are 6 years old. I work very heavily in the community, and giving back to the community is very, very huge for us. I've been a patron of Tilson Street, walked many, many times, and wanted to support it in any which way possible. We've had patrons come all over and saying, hey, presents would be great over there. Why don't you guys do something over there? Give out t-shirts, support the community. And that's all we're simply trying to do. So as far as giving money here and there, everything that we have done, part of Med Farms and ourselves, is for the great, like for us in the community, is all on us. It has nothing to do with anybody else. We've partnered up with Elizabeth and saying, hey, what more can we do in the community? How can we give back to the community? Is there parks? Is there flowers? Is it Vintage Fest? What can we do to be a part of it, to grow the community, to help the community, and provide for the community? So while some of the issues may have arose, I apologize for any inconvenience it may have caused certain individuals. That's not who we are, and we're all about supporting and helping each other out and growing the community. So that's all I wanted to do, is kind of speak my name. Yes, ma'am.
Are you advertising on the shuttle then?
Yes, we are. Yeah. Yeah, we're part of the community. We want to show that we are, we're a business supporting in the city, in the Village of Romeo, supporting the care for this event. Yes. Yeah.
Which event
Thank you.
are you supporting?
The whole the Screen Fest.
They're providing a shuttle.
We're providing a shuttle. Yes.
But which events of that are you supporting? Because Tilson Street is not an event supported by...
Yeah, we're supporting Elizabeth's event with Screen Fest, excuse me. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
My name's Greg Tarr. I'm a Washington Township resident with a few properties in the Village of Romeo. I'll be brief. There's a lot to go over. It's been a long night here, and I really don't like spending my time up here, but the record thing kind of spawned that when Michelle came up. I too felt that a week or so ago there was a person, I don't remember their name, they wrote a letter about my comments here from about a month ago when I directed them at Trustee Parker's absent tonight. He went on, said, what is your name?
Sharon Smith.
Okay. Sharon went on to say that I went on a tirade, I believe, and there was name calling and such. And of course, Record published that article or that letter or whatever it was without directing their readers to look at the video. The video is pretty clear, speaks for itself of what happened and what was spoken about. So we'll leave it at that. I just drive anybody who might see this tonight or in the future, just watch the video, make your decision. I'd really like for the gaslighting to stop about the park construction. It's just kind of silly and childish. I won't go into that. Everybody knows what's going on there. This person here said that I didn't give context to what I was talking about before. If I was afforded 75 minutes, I probably could. But of course, our friend here who's been admonished by the state Supreme Court, shut me down from trying to talk further until another citizen yielded 3 minutes to me, which was left out, of course. I do want to thank Elizabeth, who has done a lot of hard work in this village to bring people downtown, and I like the growth. I like how it's going. I like the events. Tilson thing is interesting. The folks on Tilson Street will have to solve that. I've got a lot of good friends on Tilson Street, and it's amazing how it's grown, and I hope a resolution can come to that for you folks, because I certainly appreciate what you're talking about. There's a lot of traffic there, and hopefully a solution can be made. So with that, I'll just say again, thank you, Elizabeth, for your continued hard work. Sorry about any shots you take from the village. It doesn't appreciate it or seek to understand. And Christine, I just ask you keep doing a good job bringing our county officials, other folks to let us know what's going on, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Jason Foltz, 201 and 205 North Main Street, Town Hall Antiques. We appreciate you, Elizabeth, Christine. The shuttle service really helps us out. We stay open later at night. We have 35 dealers. Everybody's sales are record high right now. We need this. We need the shuttle service. We need the traffic. We talk about charity. Let's talk about charity, right? The shuttle service is bringing people back and forth to a charitable event, right, at the Masonic Lodge, the Haunted House. These are charitable organizations that do benefit from the shuttle company and do benefit from Med Farms. We appreciate you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janelle Tesmer. I live at 325 West St. Clair. My partner couldn't be here, but we both are very concerned about the traffic and the danger on 32 Mile Road. The people go too fast. There's increase in traffic. The gravel haulers are so dangerous. So the traffic signal at Sisson would be helpful to have going on a regular basis, not just a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the afternoon. We disagree with the sensors. Don't think that type of investment needs to be done there. If that light were in sync with the one at the middle school, the traffic would flow and the cross traffic would flow also. If there's sensors, there isn't any flow. It's just a free-for-all. We have trouble getting out of our driveway, so that would be helpful for us. Also, simple things like putting a sign up or reducing the traffic speed would be helpful too. Having it patrolled more in the morning and evenings when there is just through traffic could make a lot of money for the. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Trisha Harner, 329 West St. Clair. I am Janelle's neighbor. We are new residents. We moved here from Midland in July. When I was looking at the house, I said, there seems to be a lot of traffic. Oh, it's just during the school year. I was like, it's not that bad. It is crazy. I am here to tell you. Those trucks that come through and they bang and they shake our house. So I've been kind of blown away, like, how does the Village of Romeo not monitor this? Why aren't there police presence? Why isn't there signs? Why isn't the speed 25 when we live in a residential area? And there's a middle school right up the road, so that even blew me away more. Those trucks have no cares in the world. They just come down that hill, and if they were to hit my house, if they're to avoid somebody from this street that's right here, we live right down at the end of the street. So when Janelle got up, I've been texting my neighbors, I got their numbers, I'm like, what is going on with these trucks? Why are they traveling down this road? And why isn't there more of a presence and signage to get these people to slow down? And as far as the flow of traffic, I get that about Sisson, they're crawling in and out of the neighborhood. But the main concern is the speed. And I think, as being a new resident, if that could be something that would be addressed sooner than later, that would make me much happier. And my dog, who is very nervous when those trucks go by and our house is rattling. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We're probably going to address a lot of your concerns, so please stick around for that agenda item, because I do have some answers and some what we've done.
My name is Frank Kanye. I live at 323 West St. Clair Street, right next door to Janelle.
All right. You got his phone number? Otherwise, you might need to exchange contacts.
I've been here 4 years now, and I stand on my front porch, and the traffic, those trucks are horrendous. And like if I'll go out there at 9 o'clock at night, the people that drive down our street, down 32 Mile Road, they don't even hit their brakes till they hit Sisson Street. They're doing 45, 55, sometimes even at night, 60 miles an hour down there. If I had a radar gun, I could pick them all up. But I stand out there and I see this go down. My house vibrates like their house does when these trucks go by. It is unbelievable. I have to turn my TV up so I can hear my TV because of all these trucks and the speed they're going. I'm more worried about my grandson who lives 3 houses down and something happening with these trucks and the speed they go. They don't seem to care about anything. Also, I've seen them at the Sisson blow their horn coming down because the light's flashing and they see a car there. They'll blow their horn so that this person doesn't attempt to pull out because they know they're going faster than 35 miles an hour. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate that. Anyone else for public comment? Elizabeth. No. All right. Zach, start your timer.
I would have brought
Just
my popcorn.
Just kidding. You could have brought, okay, good.
Don't worry, I won't be long-winded like I normally am. I should have brought my popcorn. This is pretty entertaining and informative. And one of the things that I could speak on several topics, but I'm only going to speak on one. But I am a resident. I'm just off of 32, and my husband David and I did not submit anything. But I do understand the concerns because I live 3 houses up from 32 right on Chandler. And since I've been in the office, we work upstairs from Village Hall, so right upstairs, pretty cool space if you want to come check it out. But that is something that President Christine Malzahn and I have been working on, is why is the speed limit not 25? And what I've come to learn more, being employed by the DDA exclusively, I'm not employed by the village, by the way, is we don't have jurisdiction over that 35 mile an hour zone. We don't. It's the county. The county. And when they did the last road study, so I guess I'm speaking on 2 things. The county dictates that. And we have been trying collectively to get that study done. Here's what happened. The last time they did that traffic study, guess when they did it?
Summer.
In the summer when school wasn't in.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help, right? So when the crosswalk project, by the way, which almost fell flat on its face until our president was able to go to SEMCOG, which if you're not familiar with that is, I forget what the acronym. What happened, she was able to get additional funds to actually make that come to fruition. So we said, okay, I wanted to come in because I'm very energetic, if you can't tell. And what we wanted to do is, I said, why are we not getting the flashy lights right at the crosswalks? And the contractor, Roe, I'm pretty sure he about fell over in his chair. He's like, oh, who's this newbie that's come on and wants to change the plans? And what happened was he said, the county won't do it. They won't do a crosswalk study until the crosswalks are in place, which means we had to wait. So we're still waiting, and I, again, as a resident, want to see this, of course, reduced from 35 to 25. The village
does not have jurisdiction on 32 or North or South Main Street. I hope that I'm making that abundantly clear. That is not the village offices, or this board has no jurisdiction over that whatsoever. Another thing that's come up at the DDA level, specifically in regards to the roads, which this is an important thing to talk about. Mr. Parker, he's one of my board members sitting back there with one of my other, we might have a quorum here tonight with my board. But he brought up, why don't we have those signs that say state law pedestrian crossing? Well, guess what? We have turn lanes. You can't stick those signs in the middle of the road where you can see them when up and to several places within the state within the last few months, most recently in Port Huron. They have those because they don't have a center turn lane. So you can't stick a sign in a center turn lane. What are you going to do? Unless it's like one of those bobbleheads that goes back and forth, right? So rest assured, the DDA office, which is myself and a part-time employee, technically I'm not full-time, we are working diligently along with the office staff to say, how can we collaborate on this and have two heads looking at this from different angles as to how we can make this village better. And I think we're doing a pretty darn good job. All right. So specifically, and I promise, sir, I promise I will be brief on this point because this is a different matter. I found myself prepared to address some of the issues on Tilson Street, and you all have some valid concerns for sure. But I wanted to just read something that I wrote to try to keep myself on track and to be respectful of everyone's time, because sometimes I do get long-winded. I've had the pleasure of being the executive director of the Romeo Downtown Development Authority since October of 2021. Just 1 month later, I was in attendance here in November 2021 at the Village Council board meeting. I learned about the safety concerns regarding the Tilson Street events, including volume of traffic, destruction, and disrespect of private property. At the same time, I also learned just how much money has been given back to the community through the Buzz Lee Memorial Foundation. I had no idea the volume of money raised by just selling t-shirts. So well done, Lee family. You all started that, and what a phenomenal tradition that is. As the director of the Romeo DDA, I am tasked with bringing the following: economic growth and vitality to our downtown. Specifically, that is the purpose of a DDA. As you know, thousands of people come to Romeo during October, and I'm not talking about Peach Fest, by the way, just October. And our downtown businesses are so grateful for the boost in their sales. Many of these businesses are quite small and survive month to month. They are passionate about what they do, and they love being part of the downtown central business district. Thank you for helping these small businesses thrive during this festive time. As a response to these concerns, our events committee, by the way, all volunteers, many business owners as well, came up with a plan supported by our police chief, who's right over there. I'm sure he loves that I'm pointing him out, and approved by this village council. As you may be aware, there's been many activities during October and more to come. And of course, yes, I'm going to say go to Screechfest, RomeoScreechfest.com. All right, so specifically to the traffic congestion and how DISPO is involved in this. To help with the traffic congestion, we have 3 stops on Main Street to alleviate some vehicular traffic from North Main Street to Croswell Street via 2 shuttles, just the last 2 weekends of October, so starting this weekend. The purpose is to reduce traffic concerns on Tilson Street by pushing some of the traffic into the north end of the village to reduce the the congestion from your end of town. Details on the locations of these stops are on our Screechfest specific website, our Facebook page, our downtownromeo.net page, and if you want, I can do it on my phone too at 586-752-1170. You can also text me on that number. Shuttles will only be on Main Street. I'll say that again. Shuttles will only be on Main Street. There is no shuttling back and forth from the industrial park. There is no shuttles scheduled to go on any side streets whatsoever. This is important. No tax dollars have been used in providing this shuttle service. None. No donation for this shuttle service has been deposited into the DDA account or Village of Romeo accounts. This is just one of many instances of a local business volunteering and contributing in-kind services to the village and its residents. The Romeo Downtown Development Authority financially operates separately from the Village of Romeo. All budget information can be found on our website, downtownromeo.net. I hope that I've hit the mark on assisting with some of the concerns brought before you tonight, and some that were brought before this council when I sat here as a newbie to the DDA position, when this room was packed with people on both sides. Cancel Tilson Street, don't cancel Tilson Street, don't tread on my rights, tread on my rights. It was all over the place. And I had what Christine and many of you know, the idea of fairies were going crazy in my head. And here we are, 11 months later, and I've solved a major problem with the help of a business who is paying taxes, who is contributing to this community no differently than the Budweiser horses that are up at Armada Fair, or the other alcoholic beverages that are at your sporting events, anything like that. They are not handing out samples of anything. They are not violating the law. They made a faux pas with something that happened on Friday, which they are deeply apologetic for. I had nothing to do that. My office, my DDA board had nothing to do with any of that. You live and you learn. You mess up. Guess what? We have 6 picnic tables in my alley. We'll talk about that later. Was some of that the best use? Maybe not, but you live and learn. If you don't try, you'll never know if you're going to succeed. I'm going to remember your name. I know, I promise. I'm done.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm coming up right after you.
All right. So, yes, I'm going to put a plug in for some more events, but we have many things planned this weekend. We've been a resident, my husband and I and our 3 children, we've lived here for 16 years. We are a military family, and we continue to be. I wasn't supposed to do that because my son is over in Africa right now. I remember coming, and we met a gentleman probably the first 2 weekends we lived here. My daughter was 4, she's now 20, and she's way up in Marquette. And that business closed. That coffee shop closed because downtown was dead. And I'm very proud of the fact that we've brought it back to life, and I am so grateful to be here. Thank you.
So my name is Mark Majoras. I live at 213 Pleasant Street. I don't have any notes. I wasn't planning on talking, but a few things have kind of gotten me stirred up a little bit. One of the things I want to suggest is that we have a lot of traffic on Tilson because the people on Tilson want it. At the end of the day, they've put up the things there for people to see. It's coming over onto Pleasant Street right now. That's just the way it is. You've got a traffic issue. The fact that the DDA is taking advantage of that for the businesses downtown, I guess that's what happens. Is it Med Farm? Yes, sir. What's Med mean? Med Farm, medical. Oh, medical, okay. So I'm thinking medical, so you produce for medicinal purposes? Like getting stoned? Yes. Oh, okay, so the getting stoned part of the medicinal thing. Okay, all right. So at the end of the day, I'm not real high on that, if you know what I mean. Okay. So maybe they shouldn't be advertising getting high and talk about the medicinal part of it. And it seems to me that I've heard about a record that's out there a little bit. I think I may have seen it before, and any rag that is going to put things in it that people don't have the guts to put their name at the bottom, you shouldn't be reading it unless you want to be ignorant and misinformed, like too many people in this community probably are. So that's all I have to say. Thank
you. Is there anybody else for public comment? Yes.
Hi, my name is Lauren, 198 Tilson. I think I probably provide an intermediary perspective on some of the things that have been happening. First of all, I grew up in a village. We moved from a village, and we believe in this village for the exact reasons of our kids being able to play on the street and community events, and I am enthralled by a lot of the things that the DDA has put forward, and I've noticed a very consistent change in opportunity and quality of event. However, Where I'm lost at is how a residential street, and I agree with your comment, we decorate, we demand the attention one way or the other. That is true. But how the differential for me is you're mentioning Armada State Fair being sponsored by alcohol. We're a residential street being listed as a DDA event. You go onto that Screech Fest website, because I've looked on it. It looks really good, that interactive map. Very cool, very cool. But you'll see things like dancing on Tilson Street, another charity on Tilson Street, which are wonderful. But I am confused as to why, as private residences, and this is also recreational marijuana, medicinal marijuana, cool. But where does that fall in terms of supporting a residential event? And by being listed on this Screech Fest entity, all of us that decorate, I love that it brings people to this community. Investing in Romeo means better things for all of us, better schools, better opportunities, better house values, all of it. But feeling like we're being taken advantage of by being listed on that, and someone's sponsoring some things, someone's setting up their Get High on Tilson, stop by next door neighbor where my kids are playing for your local plug. Yes, it was a mistake. I'm yet to hear an apology. I did hear the phone conversation that my husband had in concerns with those people being posted up on our street. And that's where the disparity lies for me. This is a residential street. We are not a business. We are not getting any financial gains from this particular event, but being listed on that flyer denotes to people, and I hear them, because I was at Art and Wine Festival, Old Word Nouveau, very cool shop also. And you hear people, oh, what's this Tilson Street event? I see it on here. This is the DDA sponsoring this. And where that line ends, and our personal space and our private space as homeowners, that is the thing that I have most in question, and I feel it really missed the mark. And while things you can say, you can do this, you are doing something that is perhaps legal, my ethical comment is that the right thing to do to your residents and people that do believe, and as stated here, do draw a lot of business into this little downtown? I would be curious to see what those October revenues look like in downtown as a direct result of things like this. And as a homeowner, you want to be respected by the DDA and the village. You guys are totally separate. That was approved by the village. 2 or 3 of the members sitting here are on the DDA also. So let's not act like these are 2 separate things in conversations when approaching this.
And on behalf of the Met Farms family, to your family, we apologize if any of that stuff was any inconvenience to you.
Any other public comment?
You want me to go up to the podium?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Bob Hart, live at 188 Tilson Street, and this is my last night as a board for the last 12 years that I've been here, and very proud to do that. But I live on Tilson Street and have been on the DDA board for years, and I've got a pretty good understanding of a lot of the moving parts that are with this. One of the things, I've been in Tilson since 2003, and I have a Tilson shirt, and I'm down in Florida, and people come up, oh, Tilson. I mean, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. For years, and again this year, I don't know what happened, but Channel 4 or Channel 2 or whoever always come to Tilson Street and does that. And I know there are, this year, some residents there's about a third of the residents that aren't participating. They've even put fencing up to keep it off their lawn. Last year, it was like Woodstock. The rain hit at the wrong time. I had, besides everybody on the street, I had dancers at my house, the dance studio on Main Street. It's awesome. It's been about 10 years. Kids 5 to 15 come and they do the Thriller dance. It's a very family. All the parents are there. I have a bonfire for them, and they do it every 15 minutes at night. So that, and I enjoy it. It's a love-hate thing. I like to even decorate a little later in the month just because of all of what's happening. But when we were involved with this, and there was some concern, I don't know so much if the DDA putting this Screech Fest together actually brought more people to Romeo, but my perspective was was that it might diversify a little bit more. And as I saw other streets that start to decorate, that might take some of the pressure off of Tilson. And if some of the people on Tilson aren't decorating, maybe that takes more. So Romeo is going to become, I think, a Halloween destination. Halloween itself in the last 10, 20 years has just, it's a billion-dollar industry. I do think that DDA should not have had Tilson Street as part of that. I think it didn't need to be said because people are coming here for Tilson Street, and I think, and again, we can go back, but the board looked at it and we approved to have that shuttle bus go. It was so people aren't parked 100% on our street, Croswell, all those streets, to be able to be there and be able to go back and forth. And I'm for the downtown. I like that the restaurants make money, that the businesses can make money, because when we have a downtown that is as healthy as ours, that makes our property values more. It makes our home a destination, and it's becoming that way. And you do see other, like Memphis or Elmont and things that go through some ebbs and tides where they've got a lot of just, empty storefronts and things. So the downtown is important. It's part of all the moving parts. So just want to share that.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Going once? Going twice? I'm going to close the public comment portion. I really want to just take a moment and thank each and every one of you for coming here tonight. Your feedback and your input, whether we agree or whether we disagree, is very valuable to how this board functions and the decision-making that we do. And I applaud each of you. I know it's not easy to get up and stand at that podium and talk in public. Sometimes we get emotional, sometimes we get nervous, but yet you did that. And your voice matters, and I appreciate that. It is my hope that no one, whoever comes to a board meeting, is shamed ever again for standing up here and making a public comment. Again, we can agree to disagree, and at the end of the day, I think we're all here for the Village of Romeo because we all love this community. So. So, with that being said, I'm going to move into officer reports. Last month I just threw it out. I think I started at that end.
We're good.
Okay. Bob, do you have an officer report you wanted to?
I just want to make a couple comments. This is not against wastewater waste management, because I think with all the problems with people, GFL, thank you.
Okay.
That's who we had before, excuse me. GFL, but they had missed the pickup of all three of the services at my street last week, and I used that text.gov, and it was pretty cool. I went to the website because I didn't have the number that was plugged in there. It asked me a couple keywords. Is this for trash? Is it for this or that? So I just answered those questions. It asked me my address. It asked me when I put the garbage out. They wanted to make sure I didn't just put it out an hour ago. But an hour after, I had to wait until 8 o'clock on the night because that's how late they have. So an hour within me putting that in there, a truck came, took all the stuff away, and the service is a very easy way to conduct and do business. So I would recommend that people try doing that. The other thing I was just going to plug for Miracle on Tilson Street. That is a charitable organization that's been around for a couple of years that has created this. And what it focuses on is families in our neighborhood at Christmas time primarily. And you can go to miracleontilsonstreet.org, and that would just be something I would support. So.
I noticed when I walked in, there's still some flyers on that little card table over there for TextMyGov. If you haven't registered your phone number to either enroll in texting back and forth communication or issues, or for emergency notifications. There's two different methods. There's two phone numbers to enroll, and the flyers are over there. It's also on our village website.
Yeah,
so
you go to the website, it pops right up on out in front of you.
Thanks for mentioning that. Mr. Edwards?
I do.
Yes.
Excuse me. I'm a member, I'm the head trustee of the Romeo United Methodist Church, the Fish Fry Church. That usually makes it easier for people. Everybody's like, oh yeah. And I spoke with our pastor today, who actually had a meeting with Madison Roush. I don't know if I said her last name right, but.
I think you did, yep.
Okay. So the trolley will be at our church as one of the places people can park and get on. We have tons of parking, no charge for the parking. So let your friends know, because that's like on the other side of town where it's a little bit quieter, but it will go wherever it goes, up and down Main Street, as Elizabeth says. And our building will be open for people to use the necessary rooms if they need to. So let everybody know.
Excellent, thank you.
Hi. I do have a few things, but in consideration of time, I'm going to go really fast. So the fire open house by Bruce Township, fabulous event, well attended. Thank you for doing that. Art and Wine Walk, fabulous event again. Kelly, Elizabeth, everybody that was a part of it. Chamber, again, tons of people. Miss Chris won a basket. That was great. Parks and Rec this past Saturday. That was astounding, considering how we can all stand up and be passionate, but then when it comes down to it, we had all three communities there lending a hand, laying on the ground with the drills, putting everything together, and everybody got along. It was a great day. And thank you, Four Corners, Marty, for the food. One smaller thing, I do want everyone to know, I spoke with Superintendent specifically regarding Resolution 71. At the last board meeting, they passed a resolution to continue with the sale of the Prospect property. So I do have the resolution. This is something that's in the works. He assured me that he would send a letter, so I'm sure it's coming. He'll explain it all to us. If you want a copy of the resolution, I do have that. And then the last thing I do have is in recognition of Bob Hart. Thank you. You said this was your last meeting. Thank you for your 12 years, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, Megan.
Perfect. Sherry, did you want to go?
I'll be brief as well with my treasurer's report, because I will want to be part of the discussion about the credit card policy, and that's a follow-up from the last meeting. I'm in the process of balancing tax. I'll be meeting with Michelle, the deputy treasurer, for a second review before I actually go to the county and settle out. They are in the process of most of the packet that I FedExed out to them on October 6th. There were a couple of changes that I did need to make, and my eyes, if looking at these reports, you always need a second person to review it. So I want to thank her for her just to review that over before I schedule the appointment. I also want to thank the assessing department at Washington, Patty, Rachel, Kathy, and Doug. They've been great. Also, I want to thank at Bruce, Bob, the deputy treasurer, and Kristen and Lisa in the assessing. Without their support and getting me through these past 4 years, they've been great in just being able there to provide any insight or just a second review. I will be having a discussion at the November 17th meeting, which at that point in time, I will be giving my entire treasure report for my 4-year term. And then the only other thing that I just wanted to discuss is Caroline. I knew she was, yep, she's in the audience. She's been taking over water billing and getting to know the water bill residents. So that's been a good transition. So it's been able to free up my time processing tax. And this will be hopefully be all balanced this week or within the next week before I settle out. Are there any questions? Okay, and again, it's been an honor to serve all of you residents as I will be moving up and out into greater opportunities. But I will be involved in the community, heavily involved in my church, and that's something that I will continue to see. out, and I've been a lifetime resident. My family goes all the way back to the 1800s, so I'm vested in this community.
Thank you, Sharon.
And I'm probably related to a few of them. But thank you again. It's been, I tell people, it's bittersweet. I have the best job. I walk to work, it takes me 5 minutes. I run into half my neighbors, getting even into the office. And just over the course of time, getting to know everyone on a personal level, on a business level. The businesses, they're just excited to be a part of everything that's going on. And it's exciting. And then I get paid. I get to talk to you and take your payment. So it's a great job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Sherry.
Clerk Trapp? Excuse me. On Tuesday, September 27th, I was very happy to chair the Macomb County Clerks Association meeting for the first time as the sworn-in president. We were happy to have County Clerk Anthony Ferlini join us for lunch and to give us his county update. Enjoyed being a part of Career Day last Wednesday, I believe, at Romeo High School. Talked to a lot of students about careers in government, along with talking about getting a degree in government, public administration, and talked about how those degrees are great stepping stones for law school. Was part of the DDA Energy meeting that took place last Thursday with a big list of people. Sorry, I don't have everybody's name. The meeting was discussing the possibility of cleaning up the utility poles and lines in the southeast quadrant of the Central Business District. A lot of those poles are very old and are very much showing their age. Could be time to replace some or reposition some to help with better traffic flow. Also, a great job to Kelly Stevens and everybody at the Chamber for a great art and wine walk event last Friday. It was great to see so many people participating in our village. That is all I have.
Thank you. It's really awesome when we can hear everybody's reports and how many overlap, right? We're kind of doing the same thing. If I included every meeting and every event that I attended all month, we'd have to have a whole nother meeting just for that. So I'm just going to recap just a few of the highlights. And if anybody has any questions on anything else, please feel free to let me know. So let me begin my President's report for October 17th with a few construction updates. There are 2 active village-funded projects currently under construction. I am very excited that all of the major projects that my office has been working on with support of Village Council for the last 4 years will soon be completed. The 14-space Church Street parking lot construction began last Monday. The footings are in, the storm pipe is going in this week with projected total project completion date as November 15th, weather permitting. The planting material may be postponed until next spring based on the weather forecast. The planting date will be determined as we get closer to the 15th. I met with Les Young, our local masonry expert, to learn about different brick compositions, what forms are historically used here in the village, and different color combinations. With that knowledge and input from Les, we will be able to select the material used in both the parking lot project and the village park renovation project to ensure continuity with existing brick buildings and material availability for future projects. Our safe route to school, 32 Mile Road sidewalk extension construction is starting this week as well, with grading and forming work for the concrete portions. The prep for the electrical boxes feeding the lighting units will be installed following the concrete work, but the electrical boxes and lamps themselves are not expected to be available from the manufacturer until next spring. Village walkers and students, we ask that you please use the north side of St. Clair along the cemetery for the next few weeks to avoid the construction area. Village Park update. Tree experts from Father and Sons Tree came in last week to remove the diseased trees in the Village Park. The trees that were taken down had previously been identified by the arborist who came in to assess the park and other areas with plantings at the Tree Board's community engagement event. You can view that footage on Vimeo or on the Tree Board's Facebook page. The 24-inch replacement trees,
24-foot.
I'm sorry, the 24-foot, yes, excuse me. The 24-foot replacement trees, along with the 3 new pines, have been selected, and those plantings should be completed in the next 2 weeks. I saw pictures of those trees today, and if you look on Facebook, you should all be excited, because we have a 22-foot Norway pine and a 14-foot and an 18-foot tree that are going to, all those pines, be planted in our park in the next 2 weeks. It's going to look spectacular at Christmas. Power washing of the existing brick pavers, the gazebo relocation to Lions Field, and the new concrete walkways are also scheduled to be completed by mid-November. Along with the new trees being planted in the Village Park, 5 additional new trees, which were paid for with private donations, are being planted by Byron from Landscape Direct the week of October 24th at a few locations throughout Romeo. These 5 new trees, together with the 4 trees planted in the spring of '22, 5 that were planted in 2021, brings a total of 14 new beautiful trees in our village. The tree board is actively planning a large installation of over $5,000 in new trees in the spring of 2023. This investment by our village council and work by our village tree board speaks volumes to everyone's commitment to preserving our tree canopy and our tree-lined streets. Thank you to our tree board members, Chairman David Miller, Donna Foland, Leo Hudson, Ruth Hedebreck, and Chris McLeod for all the hard work they have put in the past few months as volunteers to coordinate these plantings and the community educational opportunities they hosted with the MSU arborists in early October. I can't wait to see all those new trees go into the ground next spring. We had 4 village representatives attend the Romeo High School 2022 Career Day on October 12th. Elizabeth Miller, Clerk Trapp, Officer Patrick Bauer, and myself were all on hand to engage with our Romeo students. We had a blast, and we're thrilled to help them understand that government jobs are not just about being a politician. With over 30 Village of Romeo employees, we have a variety of skilled labor positions, everything from law enforcement, marketing, to biologists at our wastewater treatment plant, to planning and economic development. It was a wonderful opportunity to share with them these opportunities and to recruit a few new interns. I hope you see their faces around the Village Hall soon. The UAW Local 400 invited me to attend their rally on Friday, October 14th. This was an excellent opportunity to stand in solidarity with our local Ford engine plant workers and to show my continued support. These men and women bleed Romeo, just like I do, and together we are fighting to keep the Romeo engine plant open. These dedicated men and women will not be forgotten or overlooked if Ford does indeed close that engine plant, displacing the 400-plus workers who continue to show up for work day in and day out. The Romeo Chamber of Commerce held their Art and Wine Walk event, which we already talked about. What a huge turnout. I happily volunteered to pour wine with the Romeo Chamber President-elect, Eric McClear. It was awesome to see how packed our local businesses were, to hear all the laughter from attendees enjoying themselves on a beautiful fall evening in Romeo. A quick update on our catwalk. The Memorial Field catwalk that is up on Chandler Street has been deeded back to the Village of Romeo. It is going to remain locked for now. There are some necessary repairs and some concrete work that has to be done. Part of the fence has come down, and the step from the catwalk onto Memorial Field was removed by the high school. So Supervisor Tim Metz, DPW, is working on getting me cost estimates for those repairs. I am in possession of the memorial plaque that was removed when the school locked that. I have spoken to the family, the heirs of the Jacobs family, and invited them to an event, and we're planning to rededicate and install that plaque for Memorial Day as part of our Memorial Day celebration event that we hold in the cemetery each week, and I hope to have the family on hand. So mark your calendars for May. I know it's a way off, but this is a great way to show tribute to those 4 high school student athletes that are memorialized on that bronze plaque. It weighs a ton. One of which is buried in our cemetery. So I hope you all can join us for that. Lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Bob Hart and his many years of good and faithful service to the Village of Romeo. This is Bob's last official meeting as trustee. I ask you to join me in thanking him for the many hours of work he has given us in preparing and attending these meetings, as well as countless hours spent volunteering at various events. Well done, Bob. Your commitment to Romeo making Romeo better served us well, so thank you. And just one quick update, because I know trick-or-treating is coming out. We get a ton of phone calls in the village office. Trick-or-treating in the downtown central business district is on Saturday, October 29th, from 11 to 1. The siren's going to ring. We're going to close down Main Street again, so it's nice and safe. Marty is having a costume contest over at Four Corners Diner, so make sure that you don't miss that. Because the Village Park is under renovation, that event is typically held in the Village Park, but we're going to move it over in front of Marty's, so we still have that ongoing. And of course, traditional trick-or-treating on the 31st from 6 to 8. Again, the siren's going to ring. You know, be kind to all of our little goblins and ghosts as they traverse our village. As always, my number one priority is to serve you and our beautiful community. When important issues arise, please know I'll always make time for you to discuss your concerns. Our office strives to achieve complete transparency, and every single staff member and I always do our very best to assist you. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. That concludes my report for October. All right, let's move on to committee reports. We have still listed on here the Bruce Sewer Capacity Subcommittee. And in light of the agenda item that are on our unfinished business, I think we can formally dissolve that committee as well, because I think that was formulated to really look at Bruce's request and then make them right, an offer. So with your, if I could get a resolution to dissolve that committee, we can just take that off the agenda.
I'll make a resolution to dissolve the Bruce Sewer Capacity Committee.
Okay, we have a motion
Support.
by Edwards, we have support by Hart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries, thank you. Then we can move on to unfinished business. Citizen Park Committee. I drafted a resolution for, let me go back, the background. In August 2022, the Village Romeo Board of Trustees discussed convening its first Romeo Park Citizen Task Force to focus on the Sisson Street vacant parcel of land that is owned by the Village of Romeo. The purpose statement being considered by the Board of Trustees, if adopted, will define their purpose, goals, and makeup. And I can just read that because I know you don't all have copies of that. To develop and recommend green space areas, its attributes, rules, and regulations pertaining to uses of recreation spaces within the boundaries of the Village of Romeo. Following the completion of its assigned tasks, we're going to reference this as the RPCTF, Romeo Park Citizen Task Force 01. Because I can't keep typing out Romeo Citizens Task Force. So the RPCTF 01 shall make a report of its findings and recommendations to Village Council. The RPCTF 01 shall be dissolved no later than with a date to be filled in. I don't know if you want this to be for a year or 2 years or 6 months. In convening the task force, Romeo desires to have representation from up to 7 residents appointed by the village president and confirmed by village council to serve on a project-based term as assigned by the Board of Trustees and/or the village president as a recommending body. The task force shall appoint from amongst its members a chairperson to act as its representative to the president. So that's the purpose. And I would like approval, make a motion to approve the creation of the Romeo Park Citizen Task Force. Are there any questions or discussion?
I do have a couple questions. So in consideration of the resolution we already created in this, is this in addition? Is this replacing? Just a little bit of clarification there.
Right, we talked about doing it, and I know we had a motion, but we never defined their actual goals, how long, what their composition was, so I put it in writing. I know we had tabled last month appointments till this month, but in learning or hearing of some of the politics that are involved, I am not going to make any recommendations for appointment this month. I don't want it to be viewed that I would be making an appointment to that Citizen Park in exchange for a vote in the upcoming election. So I'm going to not recommend any names at this point, and whoever is in this seat at the next meeting, it would be their privilege and honor to make those nominations. I'm just defining clearly what their purpose is.
Fair enough, I can respect that. But we did make a resolution, and we did number, and we did vote. So do we need to rescind that? Being the one that made the motion, we even threw it out together, to the 5 years, 7 members, did they want a liaison? We did talk through it, so I just want to make sure. Do we need to rescind the other resolution, or will this easily replace it?
I would defer to Mark on that. I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but I threw this at you, and I don't recall the specifics of that from a few months ago, that it was done in this form of a formal statement.
Nor do I. If that resolution was as formal as this one, then yes, I would recommend that you rescind it if that's what you want to do. It's your choice, not mine. And if you're inclined to adopt this, if you intend this to replace what you may have done before. If you say what we've done before is fine, then you can disregard this. Again, your choice. The language in what's before you is consistent with your council policy relative to citizen committees. If you look, I think it's the last item in your group of policies, the Citizens Committee, how it's constituted, and that it have a termination date. If you feel comfortable that what you did several months ago accommodates that and is consistent with your policy, you need do no more. If you feel that you want the specificity of this, I would recommend you move to rescind the prior one and adopt this one if that's what you choose to do.
Okay. No,
Mark, could we do this
easily-
where we have the committee that we created and we just adopt this purpose, this language, to that committee that we've already done?
Well, my understanding is that there were no appointments to the committee.
Right.
So that really you have, if you did create something several months ago, you don't really have to put the toothpaste back in the tube because yes, we want the Citizens Committee, but it lacks specificity. I don't think it was entirely consistent with your council policies. So no, I don't think you have to piggyback. My recommendation would be, if you are satisfied, I apologize for repeating myself, if you're satisfied with what you did before, you don't have to do anything. If you would like to adopt it in this manner, then I would rescind what you did before, adopt this, put a termination date in that, and as Mrs. Malzahn said, appointments can be made at upcoming council meetings, whether it's in November or subsequently.
No, absolutely. I do recall saying the specifics. This is written out reads much nicer, and because we just were discussing it and I threw the motion out there. So I have no problem rescinding that resolution. It was Resolution 1111, I believe?
Yes.
Second. Anybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that's your motion to rescind 1111?
Yeah, second.
In support? Okay, just make sure. Any other discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then I would also make the motion to instate this resolution for the Romeo Citizens Task Force 01.
Support?
Would you like to add a date you want to say for a term of 1 year? I thought 1 year was applicable, but I don't know how quickly they're going to work. We can always extend it.
Yeah, I kind of feel a few more years, because we can always, once it comes to fruition before the end date, we dissolve it just like we did with the other committee. So let's do 3.
3 years? Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Poznanski. We have support from Bartholomew to adopt the purpose as stated with the addition of a 3-year term.
Correct.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 9B, Village to City Committee. Bit of background. In July of 2020, the Board of Trustees voted to accept the findings of the Village to City Citizen Task Force in the form of its final report. The duties and objectives of the committee were fulfilled at that time, thus completing its work. However, no formal motion to dissolve the committee can be located in village records. Therefore, Mr. Drew Hale, who is joining us tonight, is requesting such action be taken as a member of that subcommittee. Right, pretty clear.
And their recommendation was to continue on with the process, or?
That's a separate issue.
He's just asking to dissolve the
To
committee.
dissolve the committee, right, but
Yeah.
they came up with a conclusion at the end of the committee.
They made a recommendation to this board, and the board agreed and voted to move on that recommendation. But the purpose of the subcommittee was to find.
We explored the process.
Right, yes.
Found out what the process was, and delivered our findings to this board. This board voted to continue that process.
So the citizen committee is asking to be formally dissolved.
But we haven't met since that, and we would like to not exist now.
Not indentured servitude, is that what you're saying?
I just don't like
Okay,
my name
it's
on
not
things that don't need to
ongoing?
happen.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to formally dissolve the village to city committee as requested.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Hart, we have support by Edwards. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. 6-0, motion carries.
Next one.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Absolutely. Please still stay standing, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
The Lions, moving into new business, item 10A, the Lions Club Alley vacate request. Mr. Drew Hale is, let me find that agenda item. I think I just flipped it over here. I don't have it. Mr. Hale, oh, here we go. Romeo Lions Village VP, Andrew Hale, is requesting on behalf of the Romeo Lions that is for the alleys and unimproved sections of Harriet Street within the boundaries of Romeo Lions Club properties to be vacated by a resolution of this board. The areas have not been used for public purposes in decades, and the club would like to lower their parcel count by combining parcels where possible. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parcels, 12 parcels, excuse me, because we got the east alleys below. This was the alley vacating was part of the discussion when the Lions Club came to us to ask us to possibly partner with another municipal parking lot, which is the vacant lot that abuts the Lions Club facilities, and we identified it there. But I didn't realize how many properties that alley sort of traverses. You have a colored map with highlights of all of those. And so Andrew thought he'd kill two birds with one stone by coming here tonight to make both requests, so.
Right. So the Lions own many properties there. They're all vacant other than the one with the barn, which crosses the parcel line, which we'd like to resolve that. State doesn't care for that kind of stuff anymore. And the one to the south where the club itself is. So Washington Street, like if you're coming into the festival where the apartment building is and where we have the Beers Around the World tent, Washington Street doesn't exist once you cross that fence. It was vacated in 1954. And so was a long stretch of Harriet Street going north. But part of it, heading south from Lafayette, was not vacated. Because when we got this property from the Romeo School District in 1955, this was a ball field. This is where they played football before they played on Barnable Field. It was right there. So we traded them the land right here on top of this hill for that land down there a long time ago. So what we're trying to do now is get rid of the unimproved, not cared for spaces within our property so we can shrink down our parcel counts to make Washington Township Assessing Department happier. Rather than track little tiny pieces like the one next to the factory building, it's just stuff like that. So we're just trying to consolidate down legal descriptions.
Does the Lions Club have any future plans on selling the property?
No.
So you always plan to stay here in the Village of Romeo and...
Absolutely. We are the Romeo Lions Club.
Yeah, I understand that. Names do travel.
Not really. I mean, my great-grandfather built that building, so you're talking to the right person for that comment.
My family's been here since the 1800s too.
Right. I mean, but that's the thing is we don't
Go
plan.
back some time.
That's the reason we're trying to do this is so that we have defined and it's easier to control what we do.
So as you know, we did this alley vacating process with the Bailey Street, the medical development that's going over there on the Bailey Street lot with that alley, and we vacated it from St. Clair up to
Newberry. Newberry to
yes. Yep.
Dickinson. No.
It's not quite to Dickinson.
It goes from
Yes.
the alley behind Steve Mellon's house to Newberry.
Yes. And in that process, right, there's a lot of paperwork that Mark has to draft. We have to hold a public hearing that we want to do that. And then the property is split, the alleys itself are split down the middle, and they basically get adjoined to the parcels that they abut against.
I can
So-
draw up 90% of that, and our attorney can draw up the rest, so the village doesn't have to pay for it. If that's something the board would be interested in.
So I'd like to move forward and make a motion for the Lions Club alley vacate request.
Okay, So we're going to just schedule a public hearing for the purposes of, because we have to have that public hearing before we
Okay.
can actually grant their request.
Okay.
So we can authorize Clerk Trapp to make the notices, publish the notice, and send out the letters. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
And your hearing cannot be sooner than 4 weeks from tonight by statute.
Support?
Okay. Any other discussion?
I would abstain
Okay.
as a lion.
As a line, okay. Do we need a roll call, or just, it's a motion just to have a public hearing, so I think we can just do all in favor. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstain. Okay, motion carries. All right. Thank you, Drew. Sorry you had to miss your Lions meeting.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
I'll be able to start coming to the Lions meeting.
Right? Edwards. Okay. Let me just catch up my notes. Abstain. Okay, item 10B, the DDA Marketplace Alley closure. In April of '22, the Board of Trustees voted to allow temporary closure of the alley situated between Michigan Juntiques and the Shell gas station to vehicular traffic for the creation of Marketplace Alley until November 1st of 2022. The DDA, with support of MCDR and Macomb County Department of Roads, and local businesses would like to approve to make this a permanent closure as to enhance the central business district with additional gathering space and art installations. This closure is supported in the current DDA master plan. I know we have Elizabeth Miller here. If anybody has any questions regarding that, you have a packet of information, her letter of introduction, asking for the request. You have signatures of all of the principal business owners in that quadrant, with the exception of Yum Yum Thai and Buscemi's. They are all in favor and support of that. You do have heard some comments during public comment with some opposition from the DDA, where they would like to better reconsider this as a permanent closure. So I'm thinking that we are better to just grant a temporary extension to that request versus a permanent, so that the DDA can address the concerns. Although I know Elizabeth has some concerns over the length of the extension, because ideally we'd like to pay for this with grants. There are some new DNR Spark grants that have come to our attention. There's a webinar that we're going to attend later this month. I know that in order to qualify for a lot of those grants, you have to have the infrastructure or the property secured to actually that you want to improve. So I'm not entirely certain how that will work. Do you want to add anything to that comment?
Sure, I would like to. First and foremost, someone, I think Mrs. Rousseau, Rousseau, sorry for my mispronunciation. I think you may have alluded that the village would be giving away the property, which it wouldn't be. It would still be village property. It would not go to any business.
We're not vacating this alley. We're just closing it to vehicular traffic. There's a different process for the one that we just talked about with the Lions, where we're actually vacating it and giving that property back to the owner. So just to be clear.
What do you say that there's the business that didn't want this to happen?
That's correct. Actually, that business has arrived. I don't know if you want to give him a minute, if he's allowed. But
absolutely.
So if I could fit.
After Elizabeth is done, if you guys don't mind, some thing that I was told.
Sure. So one of the things that I'm very aware of is doing my homework. And I feel like I've done that. But I'd like to, first of all, apologize to my 5 board members that are here. It's a 9-member board. And I inadvertently, I maybe pulled the trigger on this a little too quick by saying, the permanent closure. There was all the support. The county was ecstatic. JP couldn't stay. He wanted to, but he had kids to pick up. So from the county, from Vicki Ruinski's office at Macomb, there's strong support from the county, especially on a county road, which North Main Street is and South Main Street is to not have vehicles entering egresses and alleys off of the main streets, especially that are connected to the county. So in addition to that, seeing it that it's already closed, if we did that, doing the grant research, doing the classes that we've done, doing the conferences that myself and my staff member Madison have attended, we see the grant opportunities that are out there, and it's not possible to apply for a grant on property you don't have the ability to do it on. And so it was an opportunity to do that. I now see the error, if you will. I have a lot of zeal, and so for that I apologize. And still learning. There's, we're all learning, right? I've always said the day I stop learning is the day I die. So I'll just humbly say that. In the packet, if anyone would like to see it, I have it's on a PDF, so I'd be happy to share that with you or print it for you as well. And I do know that there's a couple businesses concerned about this. It reminds me of when the parking lot was redone behind the Office Pub and Younger's, maybe 12 years ago?
I think longer than that.
Yeah,
'cause I
quite
was
some
on the
time
meeting,
ago, and
yeah.
I remember there was quite some heated discussions at the board level regarding that, and now I think everyone looks at it and goes, yay, this is wonderful. And just to reassure you, my little picket fence thing and the planters and all, that's not a permanent solution. That's a temporary solution. Sort of like when you move into a new house and you don't quite have your lovely dining room table and you got your cardboard table and your folding chairs, those aren't permanent, right? You don't intend for those to be your permanent fixtures in your dining room. That is definitely not a permanent fixture, because if you've been by my house, I like things that look really pretty, and it's not always just it's not a temporary fix. So with that in mind, I do want to mention there's several things. The pictures that are included, you'll see the before and after pictures. The board does. If anyone would like to see my packet, I'd be happy to pass it around. Y'all can see it. But it was quite dire looking. We're right next to a gas station that brings a lot of revenue to the village, is very helpful and whatnot, but it's right next to the businesses. When a vehicle pulls into that alley, there's a potential from them hitting the business that is right there. There's residents right above that and so forth as well. But to not get off topic, there's quite a bit of support in there. Recently, I attended a conference in Alma, Michigan. I'd never been there before. Alma College is there. Our former football coach is now coaching for Alma. They kind of rubbed that in our faces while we were there. Like, hey, we got your coach. But I noticed they have 9 alleys right on their main street, which is called Superior Street, 7 of which have been vacated since 1978, and most of them have not been developed into pocket parks, which is what I'm referring to. Pocket park, or some sort of a placemaking station, or an alleyway. You see a sketch in there that was done by Earth Environments many years ago as a possibility. I would not recommend as much as is there. It's a lot, but we can get a lot of community input. There's a 2-page letter in there actually from the Alma city manager talking about the importance of having these pedestrian spaces in the different quadrants and whatnot. Keeping in mind that obviously no one's looking to do a permanent closure on this, I would just ask to give it a couple more seasons. Let me show you what myself and my volunteers can do with that space, especially during the Christmas months. The panels were put in by a volunteer workforce of the fence panels by some contractors through some of our central business district business owners. People that they know who were able to come in there and do that work. Amanda Moore Elementary, all 3 of my kids went to school there. I've been working with Danielle Lee on that. Another mom, Joanna Sierra, has been helping with that as well. And I discovered, because of the way they installed them, those panels can actually be removed and taken inside for the winter months. I would love to see a winterscape painted on there, whether that be by our art guild. We have a local artist, her name is Cindy Maitland, who's done a lot of murals over in Lake Orion and Oxford and just done some phenomenal work. So my request would be is to continue, so I would love to apply for some grants. One of my goals that the DDA has set for me is to get additional donations and increase our budget through sheer donations, which that wasn't part of my job description, but I'm gladly tackling that. There is money out there, and I would love to seek that to create another gorgeous space similar to Starkweather Alley, similar to Parker Alley. Those spaces are beautiful. We are working with Landscape Direct to put in some ornamental trees in those 2 alleys, in Parker and Starkweather, and also create some additional seating areas in the actual beds, if my board approves that, so that we have some more beautiful spaces. And that can be that. Take a little bit of the hardness out of the gas station that's right there. There's a lot of cement in the northeast quadrant, in all of them really, right? But how do we make these spaces beautiful, more usable, more walkable, safer? Another thing we tackled was the southeast quadrant. How do we clean all of that up? And it happens one step at a time, but sometimes you have to do several things at the same time for it to make sense. And as we know, it's not cheap to do this. And if someone wants to give us the money to do that, now is the time. But I would ask for an extension of 9 months is what I would prefer. And again, I have lots of maps and whatnot if you'd like to see them. Is there any questions from anybody on the board? I know you all visited this many years ago, correct, Mr. Hart?
Yeah, the comment I would have, we were looking at, I think, about 14 years ago when I was on the DDA, and we were looking at closing the park. It was going to have maybe a flagpole and that type of thing. I think they're calling it Taylor Alley. And Mr. Parker wasn't a fan because he had tenants that were using some parking. He would lose, I believe, a couple parking spaces. And actually, this is back when Mel was still here. So that was his way of getting over there, and I remember him speaking about it. But at the time, the DDA wanted to do that as it being consistent with the rest of the blocks within downtown that have those walkable, alleyways. And absolutely not having the egress off of the Main Street to reduce those is a good thing. Just the other day, I drove just past it, went around the Chamber building, came in the back way that now has the one-way sign, and went to Buscemi's yesterday. So that was just a simple, instead of turning here, just turned around that way. So I think, it can be good. And I think I've always deferred to let the DDA, have a 9-person board, let them decide what's best for that district. So I wouldn't want to overstep them. I think it's good to get the DDA's recommendation. But to extend that another 9 months sounds good.
May I comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Want me up there?
Oh, I
Of
shouldn't
course.
say yes, I'm sorry.
Right? No, it's okay. I would have said yes, you know
You're
that.
going to fire me.
Right? I'm making him walk, though. It's time to, my watch is telling me it's time to get up anyway.
Okay, first of all, directed to Elizabeth, love what you're doing, you know that, okay? We know each other a little bit. And this has nothing to do with everything you're doing, okay? This is one thing, and I just wanted to make sure that this board understands. The DDA board, to the best of my knowledge, and anybody else that's on the board that'd like to clarify if I'm wrong, has not discussed this, nor is recommending this permanent closure.
Right.
We did a temporary, we recommended, you guys are making the final call here, never discussed and have not even brought a motion forward to vote on to make the recommendation of a permanent closure. To that end, all I was looking to do is, I'd love to have the discussion amongst our board before you guys make this final call.
And that I agree with that.
I would love 30 days. We'll have a meeting in there. There's another issue regarding parking, and we've got a parking subcommittee that can convene in that period of time, I hope. Put that issue to rest. Then we'll be able to bring a recommendation to you.
Yep.
And again, I apologize if I am misrepresenting your discussion with this board, but this is how I take it. So the last thing I'm going to say is, and just out of courtesy, I'm on a big lookout for the businesses, especially the small businesses down there. There is one who's very, very, very concerned about this, and it has not worked out for him. He's actually made it here. I don't know if he wants to make any comments or not, but because he doesn't come here often, he didn't want to come here. If he wants the opportunity,
maybe speak to
you're welcome to. That's the end of what I have to say.
Is he not making eye
Did you wanna say
contact because he
anything?
doesn't want to get up, or? Yeah.
If you'd like to, it's on you. So I'm just looking for 30 days so we can discuss this. That's all I'm looking for.
Hi.
Welcome. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that you're here, even though it's your first time.
Thank you.
Please, yeah.
I want work on Buscemi's,
Okay.
original Buscemi's. My boss was here, but he tell me he blocked the road, he hurt us business.
Okay. That's what you've experienced, that you're,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, absolutely.
I would make a motion to table it for 30 days.
Well, it's closing, it's,
Right, the closure is expiring, so we want to extend it for the closure for 30 days, and then the DDA can make a recommendation and then bring it back to this board at our November meeting. Otherwise, we have to remove all the equipment right now for the next 30 days and then possibly put it back in. That doesn't seem to make much sense. Because
When
we
does
don't
it-
know that they're not going to approve it. We don't know that they are.
Would it be 30 days or say, take it through the end of the year?
That was the presentation that Elizabeth gave to our board, that she was asking for a 30-day extension. You agreed to that.
Okay.
And we can vote on it at the next meeting. It's essentially, I've been agreeing with you.
Okay. So it's.
First time. Can we note that in the minutes that Bill Parker and I agree?
Supposed to.
Really, Christine, that's what the board heard, that we were going to hear a presentation and request a 30-day extension. That's exactly what John said. And that is,
okay.
She might even be surprised at how many votes she gets for this.
So we don't need to act.
We just need to agree to extend it for 30 days, the closure for 30 days. That gives them time to act and bring back a recommendation.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
All right.
May I, before you vote, can I just say one last thing? That's
Sure.
okay, just for clarity. If you do it for 30 days, I totally understand that. It just, we have our Winterscape contract that included those containers that are in that alley, and those will be installed prior to those 30 days. And so if, I don't know how we would adjust that contract, if those planters that had been moved in that space are going to be vacated from that, and Cold Frame Farms, who has that contract for our Christmas decor and the lighting and whatnot, that will be going in the week of November 10th, so I want you just to take that into
Would
consideration.
the end of the year work?
Pardon?
So aren't you guys talking? I mean, your board and.
They can't talk right now because they have a quorum.
Do they,
So I guess what I'm asking is.
would the end of the year work?
Either that, or I just need to change the contract so that none of the Christmas stuff goes in that alley.
We do not have a quorum here.
Oh,
So I suppose, I have a suggestion on that. Our board meeting is on November 7th, so I suppose what you could do is you could extend a 60-day extension on that pending the November 7th board meeting, should they decide yes or no, we're going to not extend this or not. And that'll still give us time to contact our flower vendor, our greens and lights vendor, to pull that portion from that contract. That seems like, if you had that clause in there, if it said pending, the DDA board. Otherwise, it would, so anyways, just a suggestion, so thank you.
Just to clarify, so it should have been opened on November 1st, correct?
correct. That's what the motion was
So we're
originally.
extending it, or at least talking about extending it 30 days after October 31st?
That's correct.
Right, so it would expire November 30th. Right, it was supposed to be closed until November 1st. So we would be adding 30 days to that, or 60 days if you want to go with her new recommendation to include the Christmas decor.
That's what I would do.
I would just say to the end of the day.
These guys are saying no.
Because she's counting it right, I mean, because you say 30 days from the first, well, or whatever, it might cut it a day short.
I would make the motion to take it to December 31st. No pending, because they'll meet, we don't need to pend it, anything, at least, so my motion is to take it to temporary extension to December 31st.
I need to rescind my
Yes,
motion
rescind.
first, right?
I'll second.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You'll rescind, okay. Just,
Okay, and I'm sorry, the date is the.
she said to send it to December 31st.
31st, correct, to be opened on January 1st.
So we have a motion by Poznanski. Do we have support?
Yes.
Support by Edwards. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
One.
Okay. Okay, so motion carries. Next up, item 10C, the Sisson Street light discussion. This is the alley closure. Let me go over this. Just a bit of background. The Village of Romeo has received many complaints regarding traffic congestion and problems relating to the current traffic signal operations at Sisson Street in West St. Clair. In addressing these concerns and seeking a solution for our residents with Macomb County Department of Roads, President Malzahn has received a preliminary cost estimate of $80,000 to modernize this traffic signal. In an effort to gather input from residents living in that vicinity, President Malzahn issued the attached letter asking for their input so that the Board of Trustees can make an informed decision and provide next direction on steps. You have in your packet a couple of letters from residents that were unable to attend. There were 2 more that I put at your place setting that came in after packets went out, so please take a moment to read those.
The control of that light, is the county controlling that light?
Yes. St. Clair and Main Street are county-maintained roads. We have no jurisdiction there over the speed limit. As you know, we adopted a resolution declaring our central business district boundaries as a business district. According to codified Michigan traffic law, traffic speed limits is 25 miles an hour in districts.
Okay.
We made that resolution. Mark drafted a really nice letter. We sent it over to the Department of Roads, and they said, thank you for the input, but our data overrides your resolution and the law.
Well, my question is, if the county controls that light,
Yes.
and there's no longer a school there, how come we just can't coordinate it with the other active lights and keep it on all the time? I mean, why do we have to spend 80 grand on something that
The problem,
already works?
according to the Department of Roads, and I don't know about that light itself, or the infrastructure, they are saying that the technology is so old on that light that in order for it to be synced, to be on with pedestrian crosswalks, to be regulated with sensors that can sense traffic backed up and stacking issues, needs to be upgraded. I've spoken to John Paul Rea, who was here earlier. He said, I think we can come up with a better solution, but for right now, just consider the 80 grand as the preliminary worst-case scenario.
And we're looking for that light to be on all the time, just like our ones downtown?
I invited the residents to tell us what they want, because they live there, right? That was my purpose of reaching out to them. Do you want it to be operational 24/7? Some residents said they wanted it removed totally, that they thought it was installed just for the purpose of the buses moving from the Romeo Middle School.
That's why it was initially installed, yeah, but I can see some of the things as far as activities in town where it is hard to get out there on West St. Clair.
It is. As
Coming
far
off the
as,
side streets. But we also need a light down on Mussey Street too, where they're crossing right there, getting over to Amanda Moore, and there's no crosswalk there also. So, but is there any way we can contact the county and just say, can we get control of this light so we can operate it?
it's their jurisdiction on the road. So with their technology, they monitor, again, the traffic issues at their command center in Mount Clemens. They do that at our 4 corners right now. They're able, with the sensors, if there's a fire or EMS emergency, right, they can have it steady green. They don't have the ability with the infrastructure at Sisson Street to do that. So it's their recommendation that if we want to move forward, we need to upgrade it. Hopefully, we can come up with a better cost solution. According to the cost share agreement that we have in place with the Department of Roads, it is 100% borne on the Village of Romeo to pay for that infrastructure.
Even though the road is
Even though the road is their jurisdiction.
county.
Yes, exactly.
And second question off that would be, those speed limit signs, that actually indicate how fast you're coming down the road, to where it says, you're speeding or blinks red and blinks green. Is there any way to get the county to fund one of those babies in?
No, but Chief Dan talked to me last week about it, and now again, I'm pointing to you, putting you on the spot, because he did find a source where we could purchase one of those for, I thought you said it was just under 3,000.
They had a special 2 for $6,100.
Right, yeah.
I gotta do that, work with the county on it.
There isn't any surveillance on it, so it doesn't capture a license plate that we're going to issue a ticket, but it is one of those that flashes your speed, so it's more of an awareness.
A lot of people coming down the hill don't know.
They may not
Just
know.
how they flash.
Yep.
That would be, I wrote that down.
Yep, so we,
That would be,
Put that on the county road.
Right.
Without their approval.
what was that as far as the county?
We might have to get their approval to put such a thing on a county road.
See, I know they have it in Dryden.
Yeah.
In Dryden to Dryden, so that's a county road there also. Yes, that works very well.
that would be
Gets my attention.
right.
Also, the county does allow,
Let's not talk over each other so we can all hear, please.
also the county does allow villages and towns to, for a certain period of time, they can use them. They will bring it, set it up, and for, I think, for 2 weeks or something.
Well, we just wanted to make it permanent.
I have
Right,
reached out.
Washington's going to buy one.
I've reached out to Lance Cook. So the Department of Roads has deferred me to the Michigan State Police, who said they have control over the traffic laws, right? What is that speed limit? So when we submitted that letter to John Abraham at the Department of Roads, he deferred me to Lieutenant Lance Cook. And Lieutenant Lance Cook said, well, yes, our data shows this. And I said, when was the last time a traffic study was done? He said, a long time. And I said, well, then we need one. He said, okay, but I won't do one until your construction is done. So then I reached out after the construction was done, and I have yet to hear back from him. A couple phone calls and a couple of emails. I'll keep putting the pressure on him to try and get a response, because I was hoping he was going to do the traffic study while Tilson Street was going on. That's when we have the most people going on in town using the crosswalks, because it's not just for St. Clair, it's both St. Clair and Main Street is where we would like the speed limit reduced. It's just, maybe some of the new residents don't know.
The village council did this once before, where we changed all the street signs on our expense to 25 miles an hour. And about 2 weeks later, the county came by and took them all back down and put up 35 mile an hour speed.
That's appalling. But then we did it again, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, did you do it twice?
We did it twice, and then our DPW supervisor said he wasn't going to jail for it.
I can't blame him.
It's been tried before by this council just to do it, and unfortunately it failed.
They haven't had a hand.
I like the idea of the sign, because that would be.
The other issue, the other issue that you mentioned, and I know it's ongoing because my office is right there and the windows rattle with the truck traffic that comes down there. The gravel haulers. So unfortunately, there's two main east-west routes for all the ag haulers that are coming from the gravel pits over near Lake Orion. They're heading over to St. Clair, 29 mile and 32 mile. Washington Township just approved to hire a new enforcement officer to patrol 29 mile. Well, if you're a truck hauler, are you going to go to 29 mile where you know you're going to get a ticket, or you're going to come to 32 mile? So I've also asked the county to do a truck traffic study for these ag haulers. It's very important that we preserve our road. It's crumbling, right? We know we need to fix it. That's not part of our millage, the ballot proposal that you're going to vote on in November, right? Because that's a county-maintained road. I can tell you they have not anywhere on their radar to improve Van Dyke or St. Clair, any street improvements to those two major roads. So we need to look at how can we best, protect and maintain that asset. So I've asked Chief Dan also to look at what does it cost to get a weight scale, right? What does it cost to get an enforcement officer so that we can do the same thing that Washington Township is doing? Because again, we live here, you all live here with the windows, and the county doesn't. I've asked them, again, to be a little more responsive so that they can understand our input and our desires. Vicki Bauer, I think she may have left the meeting, right? She reached out to me months ago about that Sisson Street light, and I said, I'm not having any luck with Mr. Abraham's office. Will you follow suit? Mr. Hale did the same thing with the speed, engaged Mr. Abraham's office. He's very polite. They're following their own rules and their own priority plan, not necessarily being responsive to Romeo. So we need to find a way to better communicate our needs to them. We're working on that. In the meantime, we have some considerations to the Sisson Street light. What do? Do we pay the $80,000 or hopefully find a cheaper alternative? Do we look at just a temporary speed signal just to see if it does slow people down?
If we can get that blue light special the chief is talking about.
Dan, I made everybody else get up and go walk. So take a walk, right? Get some steps in.
So I'm right there in town at the Romeo Barber Shop, and I can't tell if people are speeding or if it's just the fact that everybody accelerates through there, so.
They're trying to make the light.
It just seems fast, and it's the big trucks, and so I always just thought, why don't I see more cars getting pulled over, right there in town, you kind of get to know where there's hot spots, where there's the police, you're going to get pulled over, and you kind of police yourself, so that'd be, I don't know, make right downtown, make 32 between, here or downtown in the high school, make it a hot spot, start popping people like crazy so everybody gets the message,
One of the other things I asked, by the way, is how do we set ticket prices, right? because it may not.
Make them
people-
really high.
Right, exactly. Maybe we need to up that fine, right? And Mark said, no, you can't really do that because it's governed by.
Well, you can change your fines, you can change your fines, but you have to decide how you want to allocate your resource. And if I could, and if you want me to stand there, I have some thoughts about the light. I have some thoughts about the light because I've lived there for 37 years. And so, but you have to decide, I think, your decision, not mine. But as a resident, and I speak as such, 268 West St. Clair, Mark Clark. And I also, with my partner, own a building at 137 West St. Clair. I euphemistically said at a Bruce Township meeting, I live on the good side of the street and have a business on the bad side of the street, and I was pilloried for that. But, so I get the worst of both worlds or the best of both worlds. I think that as a community, this board has to decide what is the purpose of the light. If the light is to control the speed on the street, even though you don't have the ability to control the speed limit, if the idea is it's a traffic control device for speed, then I think your $80,000 is probably a heck of a great investment. If you say, that light, the origin of that light was Belinda Weeder, who used to sit on this board as a trustee, still lives in town on Tilson Street, and Phil Smith, who lives exactly across the street from me. Phil would come to every school board meeting, would come to every village council meeting and say, I want a light at Sisson, Chandler, and 32 Mile Road. And finally, Phil got a light. And anecdotally, I will say, the next Halloween after that light was installed, I don't remember when it was, Phil and his kids crossed in violation of the light. They crossed mid-street. And I can say all this because those who want things, bless our hearts, we want things. Phil moved out of town. So now we're left with the light. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, okay. So if it's to reduce the speed, spend your $80,000, spend my $80,000. If it's for safety for the kids, make the school pay for it. The school, look how much property the school has in the village for which they don't pay taxes. They don't pay any taxes on all their property. And maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. I don't write the tax code. But the school doesn't pay taxes. They're improving the bus garage. And now you're going to have more bus traffic. The buses are too heavy for the streets, but they're given an exemption. And well, they should. I want them to pick up kids. I don't know that I really wanted them to pick up mine when they were that age, the way some of my kids behaved, but you want the buses, okay, fine. But if it's for the safety of the children or to accommodate the school, have the school pay for it. I don't see why the village should pay $80,000 for something that benefits the school. Let the school pay for it. The village already pays a portion of the traffic light at what is now the middle school, and it's not even in the village. And so I just encourage you as a resident to determine what the purpose of the light is. If it's to slow down the speed, I don't know that it'll be effective, but spend my $80,000, your $80,000, spend all our money on it. Not all our money, spend the $80,000. If it's for the school, I would say bring Dr. Robinson in and say, if you want the light, here's the bill. That's my speech, and thank you for listening.
Okay. So thank you for that, but can you answer this, the monetary question?
Yes, you can set within limits, you can set the fines for your traffic ordinance violations. I haven't looked at the statute lately, but I want to say, I believe civil infractions, which your speeding tickets are, your weight violations are also civil infractions. I believe the maximum penalty is $500. I could be wrong about that. I can look at that and give you a specific answer. And you do have the ability to set your fines for your civil infractions accordingly. Now, the difficulty is going to be, you can say, all right, if you speed on West St. Clair, it's going to cost you X number of dollars. the judge is the one, if the person admits responsibility or is found responsible, the judge is the one who imposes the fines. And so I'll just leave that with you, is you're not going to be the final determinator of who, of what the fine's going to be.
Inconvenience, though.
Okay.
So I just, wanted to say that I really feel it too, like the residents on 32. Yeah, like cars, especially right downtown, where people are crossing the street, the new crosswalks, kids walking home from school. And my customers, it can be really dangerous right there. We're like right there on the street. And like I said, people accelerate through there. There's alleys that you turn in both ways, and people need to slow down. And as far as that light at Sisson Street, if that would help traffic flow better, if it's, not just blinking, if it's a working light all the time, hopefully you wouldn't have it going past, 7, 8 o'clock, because I can't stand sitting at a red light when there's no one around.
Absolutely. No one can hear you.
If you're gonna have a light, the light should be functioning. Right.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off.
Right.
So confusing.
And I think that was, right, that was Mrs. Bauer's request, yes.
24/7 through a cycle, just like every other light in town.
If I
If you're considering that one, you also need to consider the one on Main Street because it's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I could take a pause really quick, could we extend the meeting and then get back to this?
How do we get control of them?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Clerk, did you have, you had your hand raised. Did you have some other input?
I just moved here and I live on, I use Sisson Street because I live in Sisson condominiums. And I come up to 32 Mile Road and I'm always trying to make a left and I gotta wait because even though there's a car 200 yards down the street, they're going 90 miles an hour towards me, so I don't want to make a left-hand turn. The simple solution to all this thing is turn the darn light on so it works all the time. It's going to slow traffic down, and people are going to have their problem solved. Just turn it on all the time to work. I don't care if it's 7 or 8 o'clock at night. It's going to be working, and the truck driver is going to start listening.
As long as it starts.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Trustee Poznanski wanted to make a motion to extend the meeting time?
Yeah, make a motion to extend the meeting by an hour. That will cover us, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so, support?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any
Aye.
opposed? Okay.
The light at Main and Hollister is no different than what everyone else is talking about. The trucks haul through, the speeders, sometimes it blinks, sometimes it doesn't. So I would ask that you please be consistent and consider that light. It might be more efficient if you do them together, if you look at them.
Maybe we can get a 2 for 1, like the traffic signal, right? Yeah, maybe.
Instead of just chasing each little problem, have a plan and look at both of them. Children are crossing in downtown because they can't cross at Hollister. And that's, downtown is not nearly as safe as it could be at Hollister if the light works. So I ask that you please consider.
What happened to all the crossing guards? Did
They all quit.
They all quit?
No one wants to work.
Because my kids all went to Amanda Moore, and they all crossed it, but there were always a crossing guard.
They can't fill the position.
They said they can't fill the position, and so there aren't any. So now they're busing more children from the village into Amanda Moore, which again, a road issue, because we have to bring more buses through, because there's no crossing guards, the streets aren't, the lines aren't marked, people will right through them at the stop sign. Hollister and Bailey at Amanda Moore is a morning nightmare. Sometimes I stand there myself, and those moms hate to see me, but they just roll right through the light, or through the stop sign, and they cut each other off, and these poor little kids are trying to walk. And I'm scared to death for them. We need the lines on the roads, and we need the light at Hollister, please.
Okay, we can absolutely take a look.
At Dixon and Muzzy. Amanda Moore School. I live right on the corner. The parents are one, really, they don't even stop. If they in a hurry to pick their kids up, they'll go right straight through.
So that sounds like those two lights, to Mark's point, I definitely think should include the school, right? So I don't know if you're all willing to come to the school board meeting, right? You put it on the school board that you, as a parent and a resident, want them to pay for those two lights, especially if they're functioning right there. I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Sisson Street light is more about traffic and getting in and out of Sisson Street. I don't know that we have a stacking issue at Hollister. We have a safety issue, right?
Safety and the truck haulers, they fly north right through there.
The Sisson Street light would control the speed also.
Yes.
Coming down the hill.
It would.
Yes.
Yeah, but I also think that Sisson is also safety. I think first and foremost is safety. And then I think the added benefit is our speed limit.
Controlling the speed is safe.
Yeah.
Right, so the safety is first.
Yeah.
I mean, I have come to that light, almost gotten hit, it just happened to be one of those times where you talk about where it was summer, so the light still hadn't quite caught up, and thankfully, the kids were already off of school because the truck flew through it. I laid on my horn, like you guys say, to notify the person. He looked at me and he was, oh, I'm sorry. But he was a local truck, so I'm like, you know this light is here. Had all my children in the car, would have obliterated my truck with my children in it. I was so livid. I took a picture of the back of the truck, and then when I got somewhere, I called and reported it to their, to the boss, because it was very scary. If a child would have been in that roadway, they wouldn't be here. So safety absolutely is first, because the speed is what is unsafe.
All right, so in the essence of time, I mean, I would love to get more input if anybody has anything new to bring to the table, but I'm really looking for some direction. If you would like me to engage Dr. Robinson in conversations, I absolutely can do that. I can continue to work with the Department of Roads to get an estimate on 3 lights. What does that look like? We can certainly recommend to Chief Dan that they camp out and maybe write some tickets.
If I might suggest, in the essence of time and knowing how it can take a while, we just got rid of a subcommittee. Would we like to get a subcommittee, and so that this could be worked on a little quicker possibly? Get people together, get the 2 lights together, collaborate it.
I don't know that a subcommittee would be able to
Do it any faster. I think it'd actually be slower than if you just did it.
Right. I mean, I don't mind reaching out and getting a price. I only considered 1 light. Hearing the input from the group today, it sounds like we need to look at 3 lights.
Would the county give you permission to control that light on Sisson?
No. No, they will not.
Either that, nor the Hollister light, right?
Correct, because we don't have jurisdiction in either one of those areas.
So how do we get them to turn it on? I guess that's the big question.
We have to pay for the infrastructure upgrade.
But it already works right now, correct?
They're saying that it cannot work appropriately like it needs to with the existing light that's hanging there.
lights.
But if the schools were still going on at the junior high, if that was still there, it would be working.
It works as it's programmed to work.
How can we adjust the
They're saying
program?
that's what they're telling me, per his letter, which you have in your packet, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Right, that's what's frustrating, yep.
All right, I mean, that might be the question,
Well,
if it's there.
If he's telling you that you cannot make that light work because of if you turn it on all the time and it'd have to coordinate with the walk, don't walk signs or whatever, we need to reach out to him and tell him to fix it, because it's being used between certain hours of the day, and apparently, from what they're telling you, it doesn't work right.
That's what he told me in his letter, in order to make it work correctly, and that the cost share agreement is borne solely on the Village of Romeo. So whatever has to be done. I mean, they send us a bill every time they have to come out and service the light, even though it's their light, right?
So it's called a share, but we really don't share.
Exactly.
So maybe instead of a subcommittee, can we do things in increments, like the signs? Those are relatively inexpensive, even though I'm not.
Blue light special.
Yeah, the blue light special. And then continue to move forward with other things, because I think, and I'll admit, because I am new to the area, I come down that hill one day and I sped past my house. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Because you're on a
That's
hill.
my house, I need to turn around. But you do, you're coming down that hill, and if you're a truck hauler with those rickety bag of bones.
So what do we need our motion to be to continue with this?
I don't know that we need a formal motion, we just need some direction, and if you would like me to get a proposal, we can, Dan can get another formal proposal on the lights, and then we can engage the county to see if they have any objection to them being installed.
The signs, you mean? The speed
Right,
signs, yeah.
the flashing speed light signs.
So my point was, if I had seen something flashing.
Yep.
It
No, those
would be a
are-
visual reminder, yes. And I don't know that that's a permanent install, but it could be a temporary, just to get people.
Other things get worked
I
out.
don't know if I'd want that in front of my house flashing.
Well, that's what I'm wondering about.
That'll be the next
Maybe it could be
conversation.
in front of
On the
maybe
neighbors.
it could be in
Well,
front
would it be in front of Mulberg's?
or in front of the cemetery.
It would be on 32, but I guess on my Mulberg, I guess.
Mulberg.
Yeah.
All right, I definitely think it's
Put it by
something we need to
Mulberg's.
continue with.
Yeah.
In the cemetery.
You could go by the church.
I've almost
Yeah.
been rear-ended 3 or 4 times, turning into my own driveway.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys
Scared
do
the
it.
crap out of me. That's all I can say.
And so if they had to stop at a stoplight, right, I
They
mean.
would definitely be slowing
They'd
down.
be slowing down because they don't know.
I agree.
If it's red or
I will
green.
put a proposal together for next council meeting to purchase those signs.
Okay.
In concur with the county.
And I'll engage the county then on a better cost share agreement and other options to upgrade those signals with the 3.
And until then, we will also up the patrols on that, but, we also have Tilson Street that everybody wants us to be at. We have somebody on Lafayette who wants us to sit on their street every day, and you tell them Bailey and, there's always one person during the day, usually, that's me. It's tough to realize that we're a small department with everybody's concerns trying to get to all of them.
Absolutely. Can we get one of those cameras that just snaps it and then you can just send them a ticket?
I think that should be so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, well, let's leave that for another day then, because it's 10 o'clock. Mary, I saw your hand raised. Do you?
I just have a question about the parents that are here from the elementary school, the middle schools, or whatever. I pretty much am a regular observer of all of the school board meetings, and I've never seen you gather in mass to go and petition at the school board meetings to those representatives up there. This is the first. I totally am all about the safety and all of that, and the crossing guards and everything. But I mean, where have you been?
I attend every school board
Yeah.
meeting, either virtually or live,
Yeah.
and I talk personally to them about it.
No, you have to do it, it's like a county commissioners meeting.
I have.
If you go to a county commissioners meeting in mass, you get attention.
Yeah.
If you go and speak to the superintendent over here on the side, you're not gonna get his attention.
I have spoken to
All right.
either board, they have heard me more than once.
And what was your answer?
It's up to the road commission, it's up to the village.
Well, they're passing the buck.
Right.
And so now I heard something going on.
Right.
The village has
Right.
not been in their ear all the time.
Yes. So, yeah, maybe we can get a group of our own mama bears, right? I'm sure we've got some moms clubs from Amanda Moore that can reach out to me, that we can figure out how do we get a contingent, a whole group to show up at the next school board meeting to formally make that request. Maybe the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. Yep, I think they might listen to a little bit better from the moms with the actual kids going to the schools. Just my opinion, but maybe not. It's worth a try. Then we'll circle the wagons and we'll see what we can get done. Elizabeth, I saw your hand. Did you have another comment, or can we move on? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That was really good work, and we will report back, hopefully, with some positive momentum and solutions. I'm sorry?
You don't need a motion on this, do you?
No.
No. Yep, no, we didn't need a motion. Okay, moving on to item 10D, marijuana license. Just a bit of background. As mandated in Village Ordinance 557, the review of applications for the one submittal attached for a marijuana business license has been completed. The clerk has forwarded to me all required documentation and has reported that one application has satisfied the submittal requirements specified in Ordinance 557 for an additional license at their marijuana business. Therefore, based on the date timestamp under which the application was received, meeting all the criteria in Ordinance 557 and in sections 46-5 of the Village Zoning Ordinance, I approve the additional marijuana business license as a recreational processor for the following parcel ID, number 27-01-36-426-009, otherwise known as 100 Schaefer Drive, applicant K. No board action is necessary for that motion. So we can quickly move on to the last agenda item, which is our village credit card policy. Again, a bit of background, Treasurer Maddox submitted for your review a credit card policy last month via email. In reviewing the draft policy in comparison to the current village credit card policy, which was adopted in January 2006, the substance and procedures appear to be the same. President Malzahn recommends that a courtesy review of the current policy be conducted and updated if council chooses. So this credit card policy, again, I digitized it and drafted it here. It's now in the P drive. We reviewed it. Clerk Trapp reviewed it. Believe that it is being followed. I think Treasurer Maddox wanted to have some input. I supplied her with a copy of this, and I asked her if she had time to compare both versions, because I wasn't sure where the version that she drafted and presented at last month's meeting originated from. But if there was something that I was missing, to please let me know. But
Okay. With that being said, what I did is I took the opportunity to compare the current credit card policy to the policy that I wanted to update. And the biggest concern to me is on the current policy, as you stated, dated January 23, 2006, on page 3, letter G, it states, "The village board shall not approve a payment to the entity issuing the credit card until all transactions have been verified, including the approval of all transaction invoices." And as I was making the presentation, and there was some discussion, and then the discussion was tabled to put it onto the agenda for the meeting for today, my recommendation and concern is that if we have a credit card policy in place that goes back to 2006, the three of us elected officials took office in November of 2018, the board has not been approving the credit cards through the initial board approval process. I have not had access to be able to view the online credit card. So every day that I go into the bank, the credit card is not viewed. And the only person that could grant me the authority to have view-only access would either be Clerk Trapp or President Malzahn. And with that being said, this is a requirement that I am stating as the treasurer to comply with, which is the checks and balances. And if we're having the same two people using the credit card and they're paying the credit card online, they're bypassing you, the board, and they're also bypassing the treasurer, who should actually have complete control and access to be able to view the accounts as my fiduciary responsibility. And going back through, I know the gentleman, I think his name was Mark, and I'll follow up with him now that I have his address. But he kind of was stating that, well, this is politics, you're just bringing this to the board now. No, I'm not bringing this to the board now. In fact, I have the supporting documentation that goes all the way back to my first initial request to Clerk Trapp requesting on June 4, 2019, that I had, my online banking had been suspended and I had no ability to view online. In addition to that, I have emails, verbal conversation, additional emails. I followed back up January 7th, 2020, requesting to Clerk Trapp to please work with Rob to verify, to add me to be able to have view access. June 30th, 2020, it was updated, and maybe this would have been in the P drive, but it indicated in this cash memo to the auditors that there is one credit card with PNC with a limit of $2,000. There's a few credit cards, department stores that are custodians for the DPW and the wastewater plant. And then basically, it states that there's been no oversight in all the credit card purchases for the board. I reached out to several municipalities through the Treasurers Association. They also provided me with copies of their credit card policies. And doing so, I found out, and correct me, Catherine, if the Chase Bank credit card is a points credit card.
I have no idea. I never looked on that. I looked that up.
Okay.
I just pay the bill.
Okay. And so you receive a credit card and you pay a bill, but you don't know if we're getting points or points are accumulating. So what you're stating and then is that there's been no points that have been redeemed.
No, that's my knowledge.
Most of the municipalities that I spoke to over the course of several months and trying to obtain their credit card policy to bring forth was to let the board know that there has been no oversight and to block out myself as the treasurer or any past meetings where board members have questioned the supporting documentation. All the municipality treasurers that I've spoke to, they say that it's a requirement that when the board gets the packet, they get a copy of the credit card statement with all the invoices attached. Therefore, it gives you, the board member, the ability to review all the expenditures and then question those. And then it's a check and balance. If there are points, my understanding was that the Chase credit card is points, and looking into the different policies out there, if there is points that is village money, which is public money, those are to be used for future purchases to offset. If it is a points credit card, it does violate our credit card policy. And if you're saying, Catherine, then that we've not had any redemption, then we don't have to be concerned with how the redemption of the points were to be used. And then I was closing at the end of the day on Thursday. I happened to have the opportunity of having the accountant in the office, and I thought, well, this would be a real simple process for me just to save a lot of time and legwork of, going back these 4 last years and trying to see how much went out for credit cards. So I asked the accountant if she could provide me with a payables report, and she questioned the fact that I'd be asking her for a payables report. And I proceeded to tell her what I've just shared with you, and I will recap it. Basically, I've not had access to the credit cards. Credit cards purchases have been made. I wanted do my due diligence, follow my position all the way to the end, make my final report in November based on my 4 years of serving, so that therefore if there's any issues, they're not going to come back to me because my hands were tied because I did not have access to the credit cards. And several residents approached me after the meeting and had spoken to me this past year, and this is something that it's concerning to them as well. And if we have a policy and we're not following it, and then there's no check and balances. So.
Okay. If I may, since this is being directed towards me. Well, within the office, between me and Accounts Payable Rebecca, we do reconcile the statements against the receipts of everything that is on that bill. We cannot pay it until all the receipts, every cent is accounted for. Overseeing this, I mean, if you want it clear that the village board reconciles it before we can pay it, then fine, we can hold it up and get the late fees, that's fine. Also, I wanted to make note that according to General Law Village, the treasurer's responsibility is for monies coming in. The clerk's responsibilities is for money going out. I oversee the payment because it's my responsibility for money going out. I'm not quite sure why somebody whose responsibility is money coming in wants to see money going out. I don't know. In that respect, all the, bank deposits of cash and everything, I've never made any comments about it as, to double check that, and I'm not going to, that's not why we're here. But just to let you know that, that's where this is. We also, after speaking with the accountant, she was very upset that she was approached by Treasurer Maddox because she doesn't understand why she's being brought in the middle of this. She then made the comment to Treasurer Maddox that we have a filing cabinet that is not locked. We have years' worth of credit card statements just sitting in there for anybody to review. Credit card statements have been FOIA'd by the public. Have no problem issuing those and complying with that. So I'm not sure, but going forward, if it is the board's request to change the procedure on how this is done, then I will take direction from the board.
This is the same credit card policy, again, that's been on the books since 2006. Actually, it had your signature on it when I found it, 2006. So the same procedure that has been happening since 2006. Every month, Village Council does review that purchase in the amount, on the statements that they receive. They see the amounts. If they have questions regarding the documentation and the backup, it's there. Sherry, I'm concerned with your statement that there's no checks and balances because, as Catherine has indicated, the statement comes in, the receipts are attached to it. It goes to accounts payable. She verifies that the statement is there and all of the receipts match. The check is then issued, the check is stapled to the receipt, to the statement. It goes to your office for a signature. And then it's filed in the filing cabinet drawer and it's accounted for in all of our reports. So, to me, help me understand where I'm missing the checks and balances that you say aren't happening.
The checks and balances of it is because, as I indicated, the banker, both bankers have indicated that they don't have a municipality that does not have a treasurer have view access. And so the concern of it is that this has been from day one. You have impeded me to perform my job function on numerous times, and it's got to the point where in order for me to set up my responsibilities and do the hands-off to the new incoming treasurer, that she understands what her roles and responsibilities are, and I think she's left for the day. But in that regards, and so it's just concerning to me that you would not give me and grant me access to this, and it's got to the point in time. So all I'm saying is I'm bringing it to the board's attention. If we have a policy in place, we're not following, I would recommend and suggest that we have the recommendation, as I stated, for the checks and balances, so that in the board packet that you have a copy of the statement with the charges, so that therefore if anyone has a question pertaining to that, it's there visible, and you don't have to try to wait to get to the office and get a call back.
Do you agree with Catherine's statement that she's in charge of outgoing and you're in charge of incoming?
In that regard, yes, but any items that go out, and Mark, if you want to just add your insight on that.
I would, before the
professional.
discussion gets too far afield, the General Law Village Act, Section 64.9, one of the treasurer's duties says, keep an account of all receipts and expenditures. So I disagree with what Ms. Trapp said about the limitation on the treasurer's responsibility being only for incoming money and not outgoing. The treasurer is responsible for the money. Coming in, going out, the treasurer's responsible for the money. So I'll just say that.
It sounds like, though, it's not the actual purchases, it's the writing of the check that's paying the bill that it would be. It wouldn't be looking at the item like what was purchased and that. That would be the Trapp's, the clerk. But now, just as far as this, because what do our auditors say? I mean, every year we pay and we're audited, and they do extensive auditing of our checks and balances, and
It's never come up.
that's part of what they do.
Well, it did come up in 2020, and I do have the
That they made
statement.
a
and
recommendation to this board to change
Yeah.
that policy? Because I never saw that.
Not that recommendation
Because we
that.
would have followed a
let me
recommendation
just,
by now.
Let me just come across it right here.
I mean, the auditor makes a recommendation of any type of
Yeah.
thing that we should do, and I don't think the board would ever not go with what our auditor is asking us to do for checks and balances.
And so with that just being said, I wanted to bring it to the board's attention. If the new treasurer comes in and doesn't have view access, then the same procedure is going to be,
But, so just to be clear, again, because I'm just, help me to understand. It's the view access online, not that you're not seeing the statements, because you're
Correct.
seeing the
It's the view
statement.
statement, all right, it's the view access.
But
All I would have, so like when you pull up your own bank information, it lists all of your accounts. If you have a credit card with that bank, it lists the credit card. So it would provide me the detail to avoid having to go upstairs or to go into the cabinet. I would be able to, on a daily basis, monitor these charges in the credit cards, or once a week, or as I see fit. So therefore, then, your statement earlier, your transparency.
But I just want to be clear, you do see all of that. You do see all of it. You're just saying, your issue is that you don't see it online as a convenience, right? You see the statement, you see the receipts, you see the check, the payment is authorized. So you're just requesting so that you don't have to go to the filing cabinet to get it. You want to be able to see it online. I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking.
I do not have, which I can go for the last 4 years, which my intent is, once I balance tax, is just to go through all the credit card purchases to confirm that there wasn't anything that needed to be a concern. And I'm following up as some recommendation of residents in my own, just to, protect, number one is to protect the village assets, whether the money's coming in or it's going out.
I don't disagree with that at all.
The treasurer, as Mark indicated, is I'm responsible for.
I just want to make sure that I understand that at no point did you not have the ability to see that, other than online.
Correct.
You saw the statements, you have the receipts, and you saw the check being paid on a monthly basis. It's on the council bills as being paid. So it's just the online access that you have a concern with, as far as the checks and balance.
And as I indicated, I will go through and double check to make sure that the one credit card is in a points and follow through up on the invoices that is attached. But 2 years ago in our audit, we had a write-up out of 4 out of 7 invoices were not attached to the statement, so that was a concern. Last year, I never even met with the auditors. That was done over the internet, and so I never saw any update or any report stating that the credit cards were actually viewed or pulled.
If it was something, though, that they found as a problem, they would have also verbalized it during their presentation.
And he
Because that's
did.
what they always do.
And he did, and we could probably get that meeting when he came in January of 20.
Okay,
Thank you, Sherry.
February, probably it was more like probably February.
Okay.
So
Can I
I-
ask one question, Catherine? You mentioned FOIAs. Were the credit cards, receipts, and all that FOIA'd
Yeah, that has happened.
a bunch of times? Has anybody come back with anything saying there was any issue with anything? So there's no
No.
smoking gun, but you've been FOIA'd and, okay.
After the last board meeting, I think, yeah, we had a huge request for all those documents, and we provided it as, yeah, not a problem.
Thank you, Sherry.
Oh, just one other thing too, as I'm trying to settle out, close out my books. Are there any other accounts that I do not have access to?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But you have access to all.
Right.
Yeah.
Other than the credit cards, but there
You have
could be.
access to those
Well,
too.
you don't have access to the Home Depot credit cards that DPW utilizes, which I've requested those to be put back into my possession per this credit card policy.
How hard it was for you to put her name on that.
So if you have any questions about the Home Depot credit cards, Tim is right there.
Yeah, my question is, we turn our cards in and we need something on Friday and we're in the office, how are we supposed to make our purchases?
Right.
Every time we need to make a purchase, we have to go to the front office, make sure somebody's there, get the card.
Right.
It's an emergency, we have Saturday and Sunday, we have an emergency that we need something.
Well, we have the policy again that's already in place from 2006. If the board wants to take action further, fine. Again, you can review this policy if you think it needs to be edited or update as you see fit.
I'll make a motion that we table this for next month, that you look at the existing policy and update as needed.
Well, I did. I did that work based on the
Well, we didn't
draft that-
update anything
Right,
that's...
the content is the same. I don't, unless you want to put in here, per the rule that the treasurer is given online access, that's the only thing that's missing.
That's fine.
Right.
Then you can see if you want to have the treasurer with online access.
Second.
So a motion to table, so you want me to meet with Caroline, right? To see if she would like to have online access moving forward?
That's
Is
fine.
that your
Yep.
motion is? Okay. Just make sure. So we have a motion by
You're
Hart,
okay
we have
with that?
support by
Yeah.
Fowler. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion to adjourn?
That should be me, Zach.
Oh, excuse me.
No, excuse me, this is
Hang
mine.
on, I was back
I
there.
make a motion that we adjourn.
I second Bob Hart's motion.
It is 10:27, meeting
Yeah.
adjourned.
Okay.
Bye, Mark.